some bad blood, Olivia Harlan. His father, James, went as far as to say Cliff Kingsbury is a scoundrel. That's harsh words right there.
Yeah, Adam, and a lot of talk this week if Baker Mayfield has a score to settle with Cliff Kingsbury. They didn't talk before the game, which is not unusual, and Kingsbury told me if when they do talk, it's awkward, it's not on him. So offensive coordinator for Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley, said that he understands. He's a former Texas Tech player and coach. Early in the week, he tried to squash any potential drama by pulling Baker aside and telling him, look, it's personal for a lot of us. Don't try too hard. Don't do too much. And Baker thinks he doesn't do as well when he does too much. He told head coach Bob Stoops he couldn't try any harder anyways if he wanted. But Kelly, you know the mindset of a quarterback, and Baker says it's human nature to try to get revenge.
Yeah, Olivia, Adam, I don't care what we've been told. This isn't just another game for Baker Mayfield here today. The thing that he has to do, though, is he has to harness is making such good decisions this far in the season, and he also distributes the football for a growing cast of characters at that wide receiver position.
10 different receivers have a touchdown reception this season for a high-octane Texas Tech offense, averaging 49 points a game, third in the country behind Baylor and TCU, their Big 12 brethren. 4 receivers to start the day for Mahomes. And a 4-man twist for Oklahoma. Mahomes, a back shoulder throw. It is incomplete. Zach Sanchez, very good corner with good coverage on Reggie Davis as we look at our impact players.
We talked about the balance so far for this offense. Hakeem Grant and also Washington, they run the ball so well in this new air raid style. And then Stryker is the guy that's going to move around. He's the pressure guy. And then Parker is going to be very important at that safety position, both in coverage and forcing the line of scrimmage.
For the top pass defense in the Big 12. And there is Stryker, who has helped out the rush attack cause, the rushing cause, 21 sacks as a team for Oklahoma this year, as it does look like Sanchez, who is an outstanding cornerback, who's going up with Reggie Davis on the first pass of the game, went down very hard. And he's got teammates surrounding him right now, and he looks to be in some pain. Redshirt junior out of Fort Worth, Texas, making his 33rd consecutive start in his career, an all Big 12 defensive back. Being tended to by this training staff. This was the first play of the game. Sanchez and Davis going up. Well, and you wonder maybe if he just landed awkwardly on that right leg.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Somewhat the kind of back shoulder throw, and Sanchez does such a nice job and not panicking. A lot of defensive backs will panic when they have their back to the football, but when the football gets in the neighborhood, play the ball in the hands of the receiver, and Sanchez does such a fine job right there.
Just 4 seconds in, and we have to step aside as the active players had to be wheeled off the field, tending to his right leg. He went over and shook the hand of the starting cornerback for Oklahoma. So Dakota Austin, who has 1 pick in his career, the junior out of Lancaster, Texas, 27 towards the top of your screen, is into the game. They're already without Marcus Green, who's injured, a backup corner. This is a pitch to the outside for DeAndre Washington on second down, and Will Johnson chops him down after a solid gain of 6 yards to set up a third down and makeable.
And a little bit of a speed option that time by Patrick Mahomes. Just gets the ball and attacks the in man on the line of scrimmage. Texas Tech likes to do that with that too high safety look that they'll get at times out of Oklahoma here this afternoon.
They'll spread it out on 3rd and 4. One of the best third down offenses in college football, facing a 4-man rush. Mahomes, as he often does, extending the play with his feet and striking over the middle for Ian Sadler in his first game back after missing 3, but he got the ball jarred loose by Ahmad Thomas, the junior out of Miami, with a crunching hit to jar it loose and set up 4th down.
And Mahomes tries to get outside the pocket, but Oklahoma's going to try to prevent that. But you're right. It was about Thomas breaking on the ball and breaking that play up before it could get started. That was a nice defensive play early by Oklahoma.
Sadler, who had missed the last 3 games with a knee injury, is actually back earlier than scheduled from that injury, but could not corral that ball. For those wondering, he did not complete the process of the catch and make a football move upfield. That's why it's an incompletion. And Michael Barden, who had to punt late in last week's game against Kansas due to a hamstring issue for Taylor Samank, is going to punt the football, and there's a penalty marker thrown back at the 35.
5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Delay of game as the play clock was winding down. They took a long time trying to figure out whether or not they wanted to go for it or punt it. at least getting the punt unit on took some time for Cliff Kingsbury.
On that last play, we saw what Oklahoma's going to try to do with Mahomes. They want him to be in the pocket. His big plays come when he gets off script and extends the play a little bit. So you saw a little bit of spying on Texas Tech quarterback right there.
So Barden will kick to Sterling Shepard. A tremendous athlete, but Barden with a booming kick. Shepard runs back to the 24, and he raised his arm. He wanted to run it, but he did raise his arm up above his shoulder, so it's an official fair catch at the 24-yard line on a very good 50-yard punt to flip the field for Michael Barden. And Oklahoma's offense will see the field for the first time less than a minute in. And this was probably the headline of the week for this game. The former Texas Tech walk-on quarterback who went 5-2 as a starter in 2013 was Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year, Baker Mayfield, who's been great so far this season for Oklahoma.
And I think a great college football story. And what Baker Mayfield has done is he's brought the swagger back to this Sooner offense. That's what we've seen so far this season.
The new air raid offense with former Texas Tech assistant Lincoln Riley putting up some big-time points, 40 a game. And this is a give to Samaje Perine, who's looking to have a bust-out game today. And his first touch takes him out near the 44-yard line. Nigel Bethel jarred him out after a 20-yard run.
And Texas Tech really isn't defending anything well thus far this year, but they're giving up 264 on the ground. Look for Oklahoma to take advantage of that.
Last in the Big 12 in rushing defense. First pass of the day for Mayfield had a little bit too much heat on it as he was trying to find D.D. Westbrook. Second down.
You talked about Lincoln Riley coming in here and installing the air raid offense just like he did at East Carolina, and it's taking some time because of what's happening up front. They're young, inexperienced at about 3 positions up front, but as the offensive line plays better, I look for this offense to explode the second half of the season.
Mayfield with a collapsing pocket trying to stay on his feet, and a work past the line of scrimmage for a very short game. Brandon Jackson on the tackle officially. Mayfield getting into it a little bit after the play as we look at our impacts.
And we talked about that for OU. It's their young tackles, Brown and Shemia outside, and those bookends have to play well in the run game in particular. Then Robinson and Johnson. One represents the disruptive element, and Johnson is that safety. He has to erase mistakes on the back end.
He had a pick last week to seal the deal, a pick 6 against Kansas to win it 30-20 for Texas Tech. Third down and 10. Zone read and a little bit of an issue on the mesh point. Robertson diving towards the football as Mayfield landed back on top of it, and a rough start after that 20-yard run by Perine to get a first down. First down and out for Oklahoma's offense.
Well, we talked about the fact that Mayfield is going to be jacked up today. We know that history, and the decision-making and the accuracy. We already saw a high hard one when he threw the football, and that decision right there, not knowing whether he was going to give it or keep it to Perine. The ball went on the ground.
So it is Austin Seibert, the only true freshman that is handling both place kicking and punting duties in the country. He's been very good punting with the wind. And a fair catch signaled by Cam Batson, but that wind carries the ball over his head into the end zone. And it is a net punt of just 37 yards. For those of you in the Oklahoma area, in the state of Oklahoma, in the Oklahoma City area, some tragic news earlier today in Stillwater. This was before our game during the pregame here in Norman, Oklahoma. A moment of silence. All the fans so respectful about what was happening in Stillwater today during their homecoming parade. A car crash that took the lives of 3, wounded several others. Just 67 miles away in Stillwater, Oklahoma. There have been charges applied to the driver of a vehicle that caused a crash in Stillwater today. Our thoughts, our condolences out to everybody involved with that today. Classy move by those here in Norman to give a moment of silence to the victims today in Stillwater. Our best to them as well. Mahomes back to work from the 20-yard line against pressure. Throwing a low one to the outside for Jakeem Grant, his top receiver. It is incomplete, and it brings up second down and 10. Third highest scoring offense in the country, but they weren't happy with just the 30 last week. There wasn't a lot of urgency for this offense last week, he said.
And Adam, particularly in the red zone. I mean, that's sometimes where the air raid has an issue, is when they get into the red zone, they don't run it well, and the field is condensed, and the urgency was truly seen, the lack thereof, in the red zone a week ago.
7 trips, only 2 touchdowns against Kansas. That's why it's only a 10-point win. Mahomes with a good pocket, strikes for a first down across the 30-yard line to Reggie Davis in front of Dakota Austin, who's taking the spot of the now injured Zach Sanchez, a gain of 11.
And make no mistake about it, we see Texas Tech is going to go fast again, but there are a lot of weapons out there for Mahomes to use here today.
Swinging out, extension of the run game to Davis, and Austin gets him by the ankles after a short pickup. There is a penalty marker thrown from the near side of the field at the 30. Kind of a herky-jerky start to our game today.
I'm not sure everyone got set for Texas Tech that time.
Mike Defee is our official.
Out of the snap. False start. Offense. Not everyone got set. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Kelly nailed it. You see Cliff Kingsbury down to Olivia for more.
Adam, you were talking about the game at Kansas last week. Cliff Kingsbury didn't like it starting at warm-ups. I asked him why. He said the crowd was sparse. It was early in the day, and he could tell that it was a coach-driven game. It would not take care of itself. Today, he said, this crowd and this time and the hype, it'll take care of itself.
Interesting, with Mahomes at quarterback living on that hype, while Mayfield on the other side has to control himself with it. Mahomes off his back foot, throwing under pressure, and it's second down and 15. Good pressure by Charles Walker, the redshirt sophomore who had a sack last week against Kansas State, the 55-0 win.
I think what the officials are discussing right here is whether there was a receiver in the area, and I think the receiver actually was in the flat and then turned it up the sideline late, and so it looked like nobody was there, but I think when Mahomes first looked out there, there was a receiver that was just starting to turn.
It was Reggie Davis who would be the closest man to it. And now they throw the flag.
Wow.
Intentional grounding. Offense number 5. Quarterback was in the pocket. There was no receiver in the area. Lost it down at the spot of the foul. Second down.
So it's a loss of yardage, and it'll be second and long coming up here.
It's interesting in the air raid because, go ahead and let it roll, guys. A lot of times there are adjustments on routes. And right there you see the double move. And at the time the quarterback Mahomes is throwing it, he doesn't know whether the receiver is setting or going. So I don't know that I agree with that call right there at all.
So they go back to the ground, and DeAndre Washington with another penalty marker thrown as he inches forward for about 3 into Walker.
The third early penalty on Texas Tech. That was one of their areas last year that they wanted to clean up. Very highly penalized in 2014.
And they've slimmed it down to about 63 yards per game now in penalties. That's mid-pack in the Big 12. And this is a very awkward start to this game on both sides. It's going to be a personal foul against Texas Tech.
Personal foul. Face Smith. Offense 51. Penalties decline. Third down.
There are 4 returning starters on the offensive line for Texas Tech. Very good ones. The only non-returning starter is Tony Morales, who is a scout team guy his entire career. They've had to fill that spot in this year. And it's third down and 21. The sophomore out of White House, Texas, who threw for 4 touchdowns against Oklahoma last year, faces a 4-man rush. Trying to get out of the collapsing pocket, and he gets ripped down by the ankles. Closed out by Jordan Wade.
Well, the reason Oklahoma is playing such good defense, at least statistically through this part of the year, is because of this. When they can get you into a passing situation, they have the horses up front that can get pressure on the quarterback. Stryker was actually the one that chased Mahomes up in the pocket, and then there was someone there to clean it up.
So Barden will punt into the wind with Shepard back to return. And the ball just dies up in the wind. Takes a decent Texas Tech bounce inside the 40 to the 38-yard line, but decent field position coming up here for Oklahoma. And better for the Oklahoma football team, and one of the newest additions to the staff is Lincoln Riley, the 32-year-old offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. 18 years old when he was a walk-on quarterback at Texas Tech under Mike Leach, has turned into one of the dynamite young offensive coordinators in college football, very much in the Cliff Kingsbury role. Baker Mayfield will keep it. And Baker Mayfield with a very good run for a first down into Texas Tech territory. Taken down by Nigel Bethel after a 13-yard run. And Lincoln Riley, you see him at Texas Tech, 7 years on staff. Mike Leach told the third-generation quarterback that he actually lacked the talent to really be an impact player, but he recognized his intelligence and said, you need to go into coaching. And he's put up some big numbers in his stops. Mayfield under pressure, setting it up for Pirine. Pirine putting a big shoulder into Micah Awe and getting close to the sticks. It'll be about a yard shy.
Really good decision by Mayfield. You talked about it. The pressure was brought on by Robertson. We talked about him at the top, and then a good dump off to his check down receiver in Pirine.
Right back to Samaje between the tackles, where Texas Tech has been very leaky against the run. Pirine trying to get going inside the tackles. He picks up 5 yards. The quickest to 2,000 yards in terms of rushes in the Bob Stoops era at Oklahoma. That's up there with names like DeMarco Murray and Adrian Peterson. On first down, off play action, Mayfield with the pressure coming. And Mayfield cannot keep his feet. He's brought down by Robertson.
The play-action passing game is on the table because of the early success in the run game. And Mayfield, if he had a chance right there, certainly he should have done that. There was actually a receiver right over the middle, open early, and Mayfield was just being forced to scramble out of the pocket at that time, and so could not put the ball on it.
Mayfield developed his scrambling ability last year while running the scout team. He's an athletic guy who swings it out to the left side for Joe Mixon. And Mixon takes it to the 32-yard line. It'll still be third down and about 7 here.
Mixon is an explosive athlete. You can see that. He's 6'1", 200 and almost 20 pounds. And he has a little more giddy up than Pirine does. Pirine's more of a downhill guy, and he kind of wears on you. And the versatility of Mixon is one of the things that Lincoln Riley is trying to find out how to use.
And Mixon had a very good game against K-State last week. A touchdown on the ground and a touchdown through the air. Oklahoma trying to improve itself on third down, just 40% this season converting. Here is Pirine. We said this could be the breakout game for Pirine, who's still trying to find his identity in this offense. He picks up 9 and a first down. And
this is where Pirine is at his best. He absolutely gets downhill in a heartbeat, and he's a very physical runner at 230 pounds.
One of the best freshmen in the country last year, getting the fake. Mayfield to the sideline, and an extended arm catch by Duron Neal for a first down to the 11-yard line. Senior out of St. Louis in front of Justice Nelson making the grab, and now a little bit of timing and rhythm and tempo to the Oklahoma offense. D.D. Westbrook at the top of the formation by himself. Here's Mixon with a cut. Joe Mixon gets Oklahoma on the board first. Quite the year for Joe Mixon. Away from the team the entirety of 2014 due to a misdemeanor assault charge, but participated in the spring. Bob Stoops had to defend his decision to bring Mixon back, but back-to-back weeks, Mixon with a touchdown on the ground. The redshirt freshman gets Oklahoma on the board first, and Austin Seibert puts him up 7-0.
Adam, the best defense by Oklahoma today might be a very physical run game. Mixon pays this off. Pirine is actually the guy that got a great block, but look for a physical run game here this afternoon.
Available on Watch ESPN. Rutgers' big comeback against Indiana last week. Ohio State looked very good against Penn State a week ago. Here comes Jakeem Grant. Explosive, dangerous kick returner trying to find a seam, and he takes it out to the 21-yard line. Samaje Perine could have a big game today.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma really likes their matchup up front. Perine is more of the physical pounder, and Mixon is an explosive guy. He's a big back, but a little more burst. But Perine gets a great block on that play as well, an all-around player. But Oklahoma's best defense today, Adam, might be them pounding the rock and keeping Texas Tech on the sideline.
So far, just 8 plays for Texas Tech, 4 passes, 4 runs, and not much doing. Empty set, DeAndre Washington, part of the 4-receiver set to the left. They go to the 1-receiver side, and Reggie Davis gets chopped down by Dakota Austin, who my guess is going to be tested a lot today with him coming in for the injured Sanchez.
Yeah, that's not by accident. There's no doubt about it. They're going to put Grant over there on 27, put 3 receivers away from him, and see if 27 Austin can cover somebody.
Swinging out to the left side this time, and Cameron Batson gets blown up. Will Johnson, one of the nickelbacks on this team. He's kind of stepped into the main nickelback the last couple of weeks with a loss of 6 on the play.
Yeah, Stoops really likes Stephen Parker at the nickelback position, but Parker is better at the safety position and kind of directing people in space. But Johnson made a nice play at the nickelback right there.
Another 3rd and long for Texas Tech, emptying it out. They rush 4. Mahomes over the middle, soft spot in the zone, and Ian Sadler has the catch for a 1st down. His first catch in about a month, taking it out to the 40-yard line.
And I think the linebacker Frank Shannon, watch number 20 run out of there. It's kind of a Tampa 2, but you don't have anyone to hunt down the middle of the field, so you have to settle down, and Sadler would have ran right into your lap, and Shannon just kind of ran out of that void in the zone.
Another throw that gets intercepted. Striker at the line of scrimmage. Mahomes trying to bring him down. 1st and goal, Oklahoma. First career pick, Eric Striker. One of the premier defensive players in college football is Eric Striker, Cal.
Yeah, he's really the linchpin. He's standing up right here, and he's the matchup issue that most teams have. An athletic, catch the football after you bat the ball, and then take it clear down to the 2-yard line, fight with the quarterback a bit. But what Mike Stoops likes to do with 19, Striker, is use him as a guy that you can move around, and he really creates such versatility in the defensive scheme because he can be an edge rusher like he was going to be right there, or he can drop into coverage like we've already seen him do today as well. But what an athletic play right there by Striker.
And now he sets up Baker Mayfield to try to take a 2-score lead. He ran the deep end. Samaje Perine getting stacked up, but staying on his feet. What an effort, Samaje Perine, for an Oklahoma touchdown. My goodness. Striker set it up. Perine cashes in.
Well, we were told that Perine's not flashy, but he wears on you. This is what wearing on you looks like in a football game. 3 broken tackles. They don't get him to the ground, and he was still standing up in the end zone.
Texas Tech, which has been so good in turnover margin this season, +6 coming into the game. But Patrick Mahomes with a big mistake, just his 4th pick all season, the first of the long career for Eric Striker. The 33-yard return set up the 2-yard touchdown, and it's 14-0 Sooners. The defensive side of the ball since, but he always had the good hands. He wanted to make a catch at Oklahoma. He just made the first of his career a pick to set up an Oklahoma touchdown. And Nick Hodgson has been very good in his career, banging out touchbacks, forces Grant to take a knee. What a play by Striker.
Well, Adam, take a look at this. Balin Brown is the tackle right here, and he actually should attack attacks Stryker on a short throw by the quarterback. The quarterback does not know that Stryker's there and is going to jump, but the right tackle has to attack the knees of Stryker and get his hands down, and he didn't do it right there, and so Stryker was left alone to make that play. That goes on the offensive right tackle.
No offers from Florida or Florida State or Oklahoma for the Tampa native, but his high school coach called Brent Venables, the former defensive coordinator at Oklahoma, said, you got to get this kid. 36 hours later, they offered Eric Stryker. A minute 40 to take a 14-0 lead. Can Mahomes and this explosive offense get going? There is Grant with the catch, but he gets knocked down in the open field by Stephen Parker, going from nickel to strong safety.
Adam, did you see the way Parker attacked that tackle right there? That is exactly what Stoops likes about him. They would like him closer to the line of scrimmage, but he's also a very intelligent guy at safety that can direct people in the spacing of this offense that they're going to see from Texas Tech.
Gain of 7 by Grant, one of the best receivers in the Big 12 to make it 2nd and 3. Designed run for Mahomes. Man, is he slippery. He gets the first down on a gain of 5, running into Dominique Alexander, one of the outside linebackers for Oklahoma.
Mahomes is a big athlete, 6'3", 220 pounds. He's referred to as athletic, but not fast, and that's what you need on those quarterback draws. Just be a little bit slippery and have an efficient play.
They can use Grant in different ways. He motioned out to the left. Again, they throw in front of Austin on the far side of the field for Reggie Davis, but he can't really get some traction, so he only picks up 3. Remember, Zach Sanchez is out for this game. He was on crutches on the sideline and in a boot, so that right leg injury seemingly is a little bit serious for Zach Sanchez.
Well, Texas Tech is going to go 3 by 1 and put Austin on an island against whatever receiver they choose, and that's what they've done about 3 times since Austin's been in the game.
They've done it again on that far side of the field, but here is the run. Trying to pick up yardage is Washington, and he's got the first down to the 48-yard line. Oklahoma's defense already banged up. No Devontae Bond for the 3rd consecutive game. No Jordan Evans, one of their inside linebackers. So Frank Shannon, 20 in crimson, is starting for the first time since the Sugar Bowl a couple of years ago. Over the top, a leaping catch by Kiki Cutie. His 9th career catch for the true freshman out of Texas, 23 yards.
And this is a new look out of the air raid. Kind of the play action, slight boot, the throw to QT right there. And we won't see this out of Mike Leach at Washington State, but it's kind of the new era of air raid that we'll see here today.
Oklahoma's got 12 on the field. They finally get their numbers right. And it's 1st and 10 for the 29 for the Red Raiders. And that play nearly blown up, but a great decision by Mahomes to keep it. As he saw the crashing Frank Shannon coming in, Mahomes takes it himself.
Well, this is the ultimate in the quarterback zone read. If he gives that ball up, it's dead on arrival, but Mahomes pulls it at the last second and makes a positive play out of what was going to be a negative one.
Charles Tapper was about to crush Washington. 2nd down 6. Only 4 to play in this opening quarter. Well, we expect it to be a high-scoring game. Washington going to shift, and he runs into Shannon. It'll set up 3rd down and short. Shannon making his 16th career start, but he had not made a start since the Sugar Bowl against Alabama on January the 2nd, 2014. University suspension had him on the sidelines for the entirety of 2014. 3rd down and 2. Zone read. And Tapper came flying in at Washington, but it looked like he may have had enough for the first down. Make that Romar flying in to try to make the stop. Pass the stick should be good enough for a first down, and it is.
And Oklahoma defensively will kind of morph in and out of a 3-man line and a 4-man line, and in that 3-man look, they want to get up there quickly. You see Mahomes split out right here in the Wildcat type of look.
It is Stockton, Justin Stockton, the sophomore. Running it left with a block from Washington, and he gets the edge. Tiptoeing near the sideline, stepped out shy of the line to gain, but it's a good run to the 10.
This is a very good way to get your playmakers of football. Change of pace type of back is Stockton, and very well blocked out on the edge. Oklahoma looked like they weren't fooled, had it defended well, but it was better blocked by Texas Tech.
His nickname is the Flash. Over 6,000 rushing yards in his high school career in the great football state of Texas. Mahomes back in. And and some confusion here for Oklahoma substituting on defense.
Takes his first time out of the half. 30 seconds into range.
We'll step while you're on the go today. Later on tonight, Texas A&M taking on Ole Miss in primetime on ESPN. We talked about the urgency Cliff Kingsbury talked about. They lacked it last week. 2 touchdowns in 7 trips to the red zone last week against Kansas. 2nd down and 2 from the 10-yard line here. It's a give to Stockton, trying to push that pile and hold on to the football as Tapper drills him to the ground. But it's good for a first down. 1st and goal, Texas Tech.
This is one of the things that you see out of Texas Tech that you really haven't seen out of the air raid in the past is the ability to finish with the run. They didn't do it efficiently last week, but they are a better running team than they've ever been this year.
They've scored a touchdown on 3 out of every 5 trips on the season. But again, only 2 of 7 last week in the red zone. Washington getting the fake. It's Mahomes trying to pound his way in, and it's Jordan Thomas who stacked him up shy of the goal line.
You know, Adam, on this drive, I think that's the 8th run and only 3 passes. And it's the new kind of era of air raid. You won't see Mike Leach doing this, but you certainly see the guys doing it today.
Well, that's a bounding ball, but it was a forward pass, incomplete into the hands of Reggie Davis. Looked like a shortstop there for the former high school draft pick as a pitcher, Mahomes.
About another foot backwards, and Davis could have ran that one in the end zone.
I was thinking if that's a lateral pass,
then maybe they ought to put that in the playbook. Skip one out there.
I don't think it's on that play sheet for Cliff Kingsbury as he sets up for 3rd and goal.
Going to call a timeout first to think about it, I think, Adam.
Again, this was a huge issue last week for Texas Tech. These are opportunities that you cannot let go in a game like this where possessions may be new.
He has to go for it right here. He's on the road. You don't want it to snowball out of control, so I think his offense is going to try to get this one in the end zone.
Big early play here in the first. It's a fake. Mahomes dumps it off for Pearson. First catch of the season. First career touchdown, but there is a penalty marker thrown on the play.
I think this is going to be a late hit on the quarterback. There was just kind of a shove on Mahomes out on the edge late after he threw that football. That's where you see the true triple option. Up inside, get it to the outside, and it's a run-pass option when the quarterback gets out there.
Pass interference. Offense, number 2.
Wow. It's Reggie Davis, the redshirt junior, getting tagged for a pass interference. And Pearson has his first career touchdown scratched off the board.
We'll see the pick clear out wise, freeze it right there. And it's going to be the pick that's coming in there, I believe, is the one that was called. Actually, I think it was back up inside.
When he was grabbing on Austin there.
There was a whole lot going on out there, to be quite honest with you. But Mahomes had the right play, the right decision. Unfortunate by Davis.
So they'll have to go for a field goal, and it will be the redshirt freshman, Clayton Hatfield, who had his first career miss from 48 last week against Kansas, kicking into the wing from 35. Able to curl it through. He's now 7 of 8 on the season. So Texas Tech gets points on the play. The pass interference negates the touchdown.
We're going to try to see where we can see that pick. Stop it right there. It actually happened on the tight end inside. Guys, if we could go back to that once again, I think the officials just called the wrong number.
Yeah,
I think it was on Ian Sadler coming in.
Right there.
Yeah, it was
12 instead of 2.
Yeah, it was Sadler. It was 12 instead of 2. But
Yeah,
you simply just have to sell that route. Right here is Sadler. He's going to come in and block. Go ahead and let it roll. And you have to freeze it right there. You have to act as if you're just kind of casually running into the guy as you run your route, and he just went and threw a shoulder. That is an easy call for the officiating crew. It's a good look at it, guys. They had a hard time sorting it out initially because the flag came out late. They called number 2, and they threw the flag clear out wide. That took place clear back inside on Sadler, number 12.
So Cliff Kingsbury, again, urgency in the red zone, trying to convert. They had struggles with it last week, and they end up having to settle for a field goal and actually get taken out of the red zone due to that penalty.
And Adams, that's just not understanding the purpose of the route. You can accomplish the same thing Sadler could by just running your route and redirecting the defender. You don't have to lower his shoulder. That's an easy call for the official right there.
So Hatfield kicks away into the wind, and it will die in that wind and give Alex Ross an opportunity to return it. Oklahoma's kick return unit hasn't been all that great, but Ross out to the 23-yard line. Lincoln Riley, the offensive coordinator, his offense back to work, Olivia.
Yeah, and everyone under Mike Leach on this field today, we had to ask about the story or the myth about the simple 8-play call sheet on an index card that Leach had. Lincoln Riley laughed and said, oh, that story got a little bit exaggerated. This is what they actually used. He folded this sheet of paper before the game for me, and it's just special plays, red zone, open field, goal line. And the thing is, with this offense going so fast, they have to keep it relatively simple. Funny thing, Cliff Kingsbury showed me his play sheet in exact copy.
Incredible, right? Air raid minds think alike. Here is Mixon on first down with a big run, cutting it back to the inside, where Texas Tech has been very leaky this year. Takes it out to the 39-yard line, and he was whistled dead. Mixon explodes forward, but he was whistled dead back near the 40-yard line. You know, Lincoln Riley, first-year offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. We talked about the method to his madness, and this is what the play sheet has. Olivia showed you the sections. These are the sections that he has on his play sheet, and that's it. It sounds simple, but that's it.
Just like Mike Leach, right? They're all doing that. I'm kind of disappointed it wasn't an index card, though.
The myth is maybe a little bit more impressive than the reality. Here's Deron Neal taking it out to the 47-yard line, pickup of 8 yards on the play.
And Adam, what we're seeing out of Oklahoma offensively right now is when the offensive line gets up to speed, this offense is fixing to break loose, and we're seeing the running game, and then the screen game comes, and all of the concepts in the pass game as well.
Same play. Neal on the screen, and he fights for the first down into Texas Tech territory, despite Justice Nelson grabbing onto his ankle.
And it's about the rhythm and the execution. You can't go fast if you don't execute and stay on the field. And right now, Oklahoma's executing at a high level, so therefore they can put the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, they're averaging 7 a play so far on their 16 offensive snaps. Baker Mayfield with the zone read, getting it to Pirine with a lot of space on the outside. And there goes Samaje Pirine. Shoved out of bounds by J.J. Gaines at the 30. It's a 20-yard run, his second of the day for Samaje Pirine, a guy who chalked those up last year.
Well, watch number 40 up at the top, Dakota Allen. He's the one in no man's land. They're the guy. He's the guy that they're isolating, and it's up to the quarterback Mayfield to make him wrong every time. The guy out in space, if he steps to the quarterback, you give it to Pirine like Mayfield did right there.
5 carries, 57 yards for Samaje Pirine so far. Here is carry number 6, right back between the tackles, and a lot of solid first down yardage there. Samaje Pirine doing the work. He's got a rushing touchdown. Joe Mixon has a rushing touchdown. And Baker Mayfield facing his former team. Maybe a little bit of bad blood there. He was a little hyped up early, but he's found a rhythm. Eric Stryker had the big play, an interception to set up a score. 35-24. A little bit of shade thrown both ways before and after the game. That was one of the 5 Texas Tech victories. They're coming off a 30-20 win over Kansas. Oklahoma's lone blemish in 6 games is the loss to Texas. Baker Mayfield taking off. And you see the shifty juking to the 20-yard line to set up third down manageable with Dakota Allen on the stop.
That quarterback draw actually looked like it was by design. Kind of a shoulder and head fake outside to the pass, and then he gets right down Broadway. But I think Oklahoma really likes their matchup up front currently. Their offensive line is playing extremely well.
Texas Tech, again, leaky in between the tackles against the rush. 185 yards a game between the tackles allowed. Here is Mixon, and he gets grabbed at the ankles by Gaines. And Mixon trying to stretch to the line to gain. It'll be close here, depending on the spot.
Gaines did a nice job of knifing through. D.D. Westbrook was a wide receiver that was supposed to get a hat in front of number 3, J.J. Gaines, but Gaines had too much speed to the point of attack.
They do mark it short. And about 3/4 of a yard, according to our unofficial line. P. Ryan is back in the game. Mayfield looks like he could be ready for a sneak. Big play here, and Mayfield is able to convert, diving ahead for the first down. Over the top already, the play ruled dead, and he had the first down. And Mayfield has got into it more than once, staring across the field at some of the Red Raider defenders.
Yeah, no doubt about that. He's an excitable guy anyway, but this means a lot to him. But I guarantee he's comforted by the way his offensive line is playing. They're getting a very good push like they did in that short yardage play, but they protected him well, and they're running the football extremely well also.
Averaging about 8 yards a carry in the run game in the first quarter. Mixon breaks a tackle in the backfield, and Joe Mixon with a head of steam spinning to the end zone. Touchdown, Oklahoma. As many rushing touchdowns today as he had in his first 5 and 6 games.
And Mixon is more of an explosive guy because of that right there. You saw an untouched defender in the middle of the field, right standing in the hole, and it was a little juke, and then by him does Mixon go and gets into the end zone. And Mixon has a little more versatility and explosiveness, and then you bring in P. Ryan that just wears people out.
Seibert adds the extra point and makes it an 18-point game. Oklahoma is tied at season high with 3 rushing touchdowns, and Baker Mayfield is fired up. The 217-pound redshirt freshman, West Coast, Oakley, California representing. Breaking a tackle, staying on his feet. 2 scores on the ground for Mixon. A lot of football to play. And a couple of 2 Big 12 win teams square off here. All Oklahoma at home early. Into the win, the kick goes into the arms of Jakeem Grant. He's got 3 career kick returns, 4 touchdowns, and he's trying to switch fields, and Texas Tech needs a big play from him. Steps out at the 38-yard line. So good field position for Texas Tech, trying to get back into this first half. As we take a look at the bright side, it's brought to you by CarMax. This was the matchup that we looked at. Texas Tech's pass offense against Oklahoma's pass defense.
And Oklahoma, I think, is legit in terms of the way they play defense, and they get pressure and they cover on the back end. And right now, I think Texas Tech just hasn't had enough rolls at the dice. We'll see if they can get it going here in the second quarter, but it's been the run game for Oklahoma that has limited the touches by Texas Tech's offense as well. So we'll see how this plays out the rest of the game.
Mahomes is 7 of 12 for 67 yards, but he does have that interception to Stryker that helps set up an Oklahoma touchdown.
I told you, I put that on the right tackle. I don't put that on the quarterback.
Okay. Well, yeah, you said it. Balin Brown kind of whiffed on Stryker. Mahomes taking a shot downfield, throwing the long out for Devin Lauderdale. He's fully recovered from some internal bruising that kept him out of a game against Iowa State a couple of weeks ago. Said how explosive this Texas Tech offense has been and can be. 93 points in the first quarter in the first 7 games. That averages out to about 2 touchdowns per first quarter. Just shy of 14 per quarter. Only 3 points in that opening frame. As they'll give it to Washington up the middle. Got grabbed from behind by Jordan Wade. And it'll set up 3rd down.
We haven't seen much out of Texas Tech in the run game, and that's exactly the way Mike Stoops coaches defense. Regardless of the opposition, you have to snuff out the run and make any team you play one-dimensional, and thus far Oklahoma's been able to do that with Texas Tech.
They're down 6. It's the 4-man rush. Mahomes is going to take a shot down the field, and it is incomplete. Looking for Grant. And Jordan Thomas, very good sophomore cornerback in coverage, and it's 4th down and 6.
And Oklahoma had rolled that way. There was a corner up in the flat, and then Jordan Thomas, actually playing safety that particular time, was over the top of that route going down the sideline. Very well defended.
Sterling Shepard back to return. No punt returns for touchdowns in his 25 returns. And Michael Barden is only punting for the 5th time, and he's only punting due to the injury to Taylor Semank, his hamstring. Punts with the wind over Shepard and out to the 20. Will come Oklahoma on a net punt of 38 yards. Say what's up to the Duck. Aflac trivia question. Which 2 schools hold the top 5 marks for total offense in a single season? This is an interesting one. We'll have the answer for you in just a bit. Any guesses on this one?
I have no idea.
I'm going to guess Tulsa.
I'm trying to figure out the question before I can even think of an answer.
I think
top 5 marks.
The top 5 marks for, I'm going to say Tulsa, because I think Tulsa in the past has set a record for offense. And I'm going to guess Texas Tech. I'm going to guess Mike Leach has to be involved in this.
2 schools have all the top 5. Yeah, Mike Leach has to be in there. There's no doubt about that. How about Baylor? Does Baylor?
Maybe Baylor might be up there too.
Pick anyone in the Big 12.
Mayfield back to work from the 20-yard line. Extending the play with his feet, still scrambling, stepping around a couple of defenders. And Mayfield somehow turns it into a gain of about 2.5 yards. Had to run about 30 yards to get it.
It might be one of the better 3-yard runs that you'll see out of a quarterback. It's a good spin move right there. And I think the swagger that Mayfield has brought to this offense has been vitally important as Lincoln Riley tries to get the air raid going here.
Mayfield, an Oklahoma fan growing up in Austin, Texas. He was a huge Oklahoma fan. Spent a lot of his childhood going to games on Saturdays here in Norman. And Mayfield takes a deep shot. And a leaping attempt by Shepard could not hold on to it with Nigel Bethel, the heavily recruited sophomore, in coverage. 3rd down and 7.
That's one of the times where the quarterback, Mayfield, just has confidence in Shepard going up and making a play. The double move, kind of a sluggo, the slant and then the go, and it was pretty well defended by Bethel. But I think Shepard would tell you he should have came down with that football.
One of the better receivers in the country. Had a groin injury last year that really limited him about halfway through the season. Still almost had 1,000 yards a season ago despite the injury. And he's back and healthy, and their leading receiver as expected. Five-man rush, late blitz, and underneath it's D.D. Westbrook for a 1st down and more. Westbrook. Gaines got him at the ankles and tripped him up, landing at the 45-yard line, a 22-yard 3rd down gain.
Well, this is a staple of the air raid. It's called a nest route. You have a shallow crosser and a crosser coming from the opposite side. They get kind of shoulder to shoulder, and one guy comes free. In this case, it was Westbrook. It's a man-beating route, and it beat man-to-man coverage there.
Stretch to the edge for Samaje Perine. Perine with a head of steam puts a big shoulder into Gaines at the Texas Tech 41-yard line. 14 more yards for what has been a very good rushing attack for Oklahoma, and that's something that Bob Stoops wanted to get back into this offense. Lincoln Riley wanted to find the identity for the running backs in Perine and Mixon. They've had an identity today. It's big plays. Here's another one through the air. Jarvis Baxter. He lost the football. It's loose near the 20-yard line, and it's picked up. Deshaun Johnson, the ball hawk, with Mayfield in front of him. Tripped up inside the 30. Back-to-back weeks that Deshaun Johnson has come up with a big play on defense in the turnover game. He takes it 48 yards after Tevin Madison punched the ball loose. Huge Texas Tech play.
Yeah, and Texas Tech, Adam, exactly right, was needing a huge play. Baxter slips into the middle of that defense, is running with it, and then it's punched out by Madison and picked up by Johnson. That's the kind of play that Texas Tech really needed at this point in time in the game to try to climb back in this one.
Last week, it was Johnson's pick 6 that sealed the game against Kansas. He comes up with a fumble recovery and a 48-yard return to give Mahomes his best field position. And DeAndre Washington has one of his best runs of the day for 8 yards. Deshaun Johnson, who only played 4 games last year before a medical redshirt after an injury. Big play there. 2nd down 2. Mahomes over the middle, and it's caught. Pearson, there's the first catch of his season, and he takes it for a 1st down to the 6-yard line. And now Mayfield can only watch as Texas Tech has an opportunity to get right back in this game. Mahomes keeping it. Grabbed by Tapper and driven back. They'll mark the forward progress right at the line of scrimmage. It'll be second down and goal from about the 6.
And on this series right here is the first time we've really seen Texas Tech really get up tempo. They're going fast because they've been successful. It's been one of the first times they've been able to do this.
Again, can they convert in the red zone? Both Stockton and Washington in the backfield for Mahomes. Still plenty of time in the play clock. Four-man rush. Mahomes extending the play. Flag is thrown. Throw to the end zone, and it's caught by Davis for a touchdown, but we'll have to check the marker again.
And once again, Dakota Austin was in coverage right there on Davis. I think Austin's going to get called for the hold as the receiver Davis was coming out of that break late.
Holding. Defense. And penalties decline. Touchdown.
And Texas Tech gets a much needed score.
That play was a lot about Mahomes keeping it going off script and extending plays. And then Davis finally got loose, even though Dakota Austin, number 27, who we've seen Texas Tech pick on him today. The injury to Zach Sanchez early in the game, 4 seconds into the game.
Hatfield bangs through the extra point, and it was Tevin Madison knocking it free, and then Johnson grabbing the fumble, taking it 48 yards. Madison, the big play, the sophomore out of Alabama. And then the redshirt freshman Johnson taking it. Mahomes finding Davis. 21-10 lead on Texas Tech. You see Zach Sanchez, who is in a walking boot right now, right in the middle of the huddle, trying to help out his fellow defensive backs. Dakota Austin got beat for a touchdown for Reggie Davis on that last series in the red zone. That'll be something to watch for as the day goes on.
I'm not confident in this at all. Right here.
Aflac. What's up, Duck? Aflac trivia question. Which two schools hold the top 5 marks for total offense in a single season? Well, Kelly, you did throw it out there as a possibility. You said Baylor. I mean,
Baylor,
right,
Texas
that's
Tech.
One of them. Texas Tech's not the other.
Houston,
it's the
yes.
So there's a couple of teams. I believe that was that an Andre Ware season for Houston right there, if I'm not mistaken. Jack Pardee was the head coach, and then 2011 Case Keenum was the quarterback for Houston, right? There's some good guys to have at the helm. First down at 10 with Kelly's stunned right now, shell-shocked. 9.5 to go first half, and here is Samaje Perine with another big run and a first down out across the 35. Perine continuing to do big things on the ground, 88 yards, averaging 11 a carry. First down 10, and Perine with so much space in the middle of the field. Texas Tech continues to give up major chunks of yardage in between the tackles. Perine continues to take advantage.
And Mach 1 as far as Mayfield is concerned. Get the next play going. Don't give Texas Tech time to recover defensively.
Perine again, and this time he gets stopped right near the line of scrimmage. Tackled by Devontae Hinton, and it's second down.
That was more of a pulling type of play. They were pulling a lineman from the left to the right. The others that Perine got going downhill in a hurry were more effective, and I think that's his game.
And I think Perine's a little bit banged up. At the very least, it looked like he was grimacing and wincing, looking back towards the sideline. Mixon is in the game. He is in motion. Mayfield looking at one receiver, and he's intercepted. Picked up by Justice Nelson. And Nelson takes it into Oklahoma territory and steps out of bounds. It looked like Mayfield was looking at one receiver the entire time, and Nelson read the eyes for his second career interception, the first since the Holiday Bowl in 2013.
Yeah, Nelson, number 31, was just a deep corner. Stay the deep is the deepest and wide is the widest, and you're exactly right. The quarterback, Mayfield, just stared down the receiver. It was intended to Westbrook, and Westbrook was leaking up the sideline and was covered underneath and over the top from the get-go. That was a bad decision by Mayfield. You can't get greedy. He's been making good decisions up until that throw right there.
What did you tell me? When you look long, you look wrong, and it seemed like he was looking far too long at Westbrook on that play. It's Nelson coming up with the pick. And now it's 1st and 10. Texas Tech trying to take advantage of another takeaway. Mahomes dumping it off. Washington keeping his feet and getting the first down. Into the red zone again goes Texas Tech. Alexander on the stop. And now Cliff Kingsbury wants to turn up the tempo. 2 takeaways today, 1 turnover as well for Mahomes. He did throw a pick in this game, but they're +1 to the takeaway margin today. Washington spinning, gets past Stryker, and then a gang tackle by Oklahoma's defense at the 13-yard line will set up 2nd down and 3.
DeAndre Washington's wheelhouse, Adam, is yards after contact. He breaks so many tackles. He competes so hard for every yard, and typically he's moving the pile forward at the end. Last year, a 1,100-yard season. First Texas Tech running back with 1,000 yards since the other Ricky Williams in 1998. That's what Sports Illustrated called him when they put him on the cover. The other Ricky Williams, the year that Texas's Ricky Williams was having a monster season. On 2nd down, 4-man rush. Mahomes fading towards the corner, and it's out of the reach of Grants. He had Stephen Parker in coverage. It almost feels like, Kelly, that multiple defensive backs for Oklahoma have to play multiple roles. Yeah, they have to be flexible on the back end, and here's one of the most flexible guys in Stephen Parker. He's a safety, but he's also a nickel back, and he recovered the best receiver for Texas Tech, Grant, on that play.
You see Pirine, he was just getting attention on the sideline, as that's a concern now for OU's offense. Texas Tech on offense, big 3rd down and 3 in the red zone here. Washington, 1st down. Washington still on his feet, lunging for the end zone, touchdown Tech. Yards after contact personified for DeAndre Washington on that drive. Texas Tech takes advantage of the Mayfield pick.
A very good job by Mahomes getting to the right play, and Washington pays it off in the end, and I do think that's a touchdown. We'll see whether his knee was down. He extends. I think that's going to hold up as every scoring play is reviewed, and that was a touchdown. But Mahomes did a nice job at the line of scrimmage. It was a favorable numbers in the box, and he checks to a run, and it was the right play, and Washington gets downhill and gets in the end zone.
Hatfield adds the extra point, and Texas Tech is right back in it. They've trailed by as many as 18 in this game, 14 unanswered, and both drives off takeaways. This time it was Justice Nelson with the interception of the return, and then Washington tonight, right here on ABC. From the 25-yard line, Mayfield and the Sooners. Former Texas Tech walk-on quarterback a couple of years ago, going up against his former team and coach. And it's a give to Joe Mixon, who bounces it to the outside, and Mixon in the open field, upended by Nigel Bethel. We might see a lot of Mixon on this drive. Samaje Perine, we got to look at him on the last Texas Tech series. Perine was wincing on Oklahoma's last series, and he was getting tended to on the sideline. Dimitri Flowers blocking for Mixon. Gonna run it left. And it's stretched out to the sideline by Micah Awe, 5th in the Big 12 in tackles this season, the senior with a stop after a gain of 2.
And with Pirine out, it really is a changeup in the run game, because Mixon's more elusive, but also the 2-back look that we saw in that last play with Flowers leading almost like a fullback, and then Mixon getting in behind him.
There is Samaje Perine still on the sideline. Fake to Mixon. Mayfield with plenty of time. Now starting to run out, throws on the run, and it's caught by Westbrook, but he's grabbed immediately by Nelson and ripped down, shy of the line to gain. Forward progress will mark it at the 46, so 3rd down and very short, about 1.5 yards coming up.
And that's something new out of the air raid that we're seeing in this modern day version, is run the football effectively, and then they have a play action passing game, kind of a boot game out of it as well. We've seen out of both teams running this air raid style.
Mixon's got 2 rushing touchdowns today. Pirine has another. That's accounted for the scoring for Oklahoma thus far. 3rd down and a long one. Mixon, patient running, and he got grabbed at the ankles by Devontae Hinton, but lunged forward for the 1st down anyway.
And once again, we see Flowers in the big back at 6'2", almost 230 pounds, slicing across the formation one way, and then Mixon gets up to the right side and ekes it out as well. And he's a pretty big back himself.
You see Pirine back into the game, giving Mixon a blow. Shot position here for Oklahoma from their own 48. They're trying to take a shot. Mayfield down the middle of 1st down. Sterling Shepard with a spin. Sterling Shepard still on his feet inside the 20. One of the biggest plays of the day for the Oklahoma offense. Into the red zone they go. And Shepard by himself at the top of the formation here. Trying to throw a block as Pirine tries to beat Bethel to the edge, and Bethel gets him at the ankles.
And Mayfield does a good job. This is the previous catch, and there was pressure off the edge, and Mayfield sees it before the snap and then throws to Shepard in the void right behind where that pressure came from. Those are the things that you have to diagnose as a quarterback before you get the football in your hands.
31 catches for Shepard this season, one of the best receivers in Oklahoma history. Flowers blocking, Pirine gets the carry, and Pirine diving close to the sticks. Will be marked about a yard shy at the 10 as Awe got him down. It's going to be 3rd down and about a short 1 yard here. And there's an injured Texas Tech Red Raider on the field.
And Adam, we've seen Oklahoma offensively get back to what was working early, a physical downhill run game, and then your pass game's a play action game off of that.
Oklahoma driving, 3rd down and 1 as this training staff tends to an injured Red Raider. The Sooners here, deep in Texas Tech territory. Nigel Bethel was the injured Texas Tech Red Raider. Theory Gima takes over at quarterback for him. Samaje Pirine has a hole and a burst and a touchdown, his 2nd of the day. And the rushing attack for the Sooners continues to get it done. Four touchdowns, Oklahoma, all on the ground. Over 200 yards of rushing today here in the 1st half alone.
The right guard, Kasitati, was the one that had the really good block, but Adam, that was way too easy. Over 200 yards this half running the football, over 7.5 yards a pop. They're only averaging 160 on the year. They have over 200 going into the half.
Seibert adds the extra point. And it's back to an 11-point lead for the Sooners. Let's take a look at today's Good Hands play. It is brought to you by Allstate. A couple of Good Hands plays, and it has to do with some of the defense that we've seen so far. How about these hands by Eric Stryker to start it off? First career pick for Eric Stryker in his 46th career game. Madison punching it out, and then Jashawn Johnson scooping it up with some sure hands, taking it down the field to help set up one Texas Tech touchdown. And then this Nelson Pick, the junior out of Mesquite, Texas, helped set up another Texas Tech score. Those two takeaways helped the Red Raiders get right back into this game after they trailed by 18 at one point.
And that's really why David Gibbs is here.
For Texas Tech?
Yeah, for Texas Tech. His defensive coordinator, and Cliff Kingsbury told us that. I said, what were you looking for in a defensive coordinator? And he said, I wanted a guy that could take it away and defend the red zone. And at Houston, that's exactly who David Gibbs was. He doesn't really have the personnel right now defensively for Texas Tech, but that's his MO, and that's where this defense is headed down the road.
And David Gibbs spent 9 years in the NFL as an assistant coach as well. So that's the practice mantra, take the ball away. They constantly drill it in the NFL with head coaches and defensive coordinators. Again, Hodgson kicking into the wind. Grant, a returnable kick from the 3-yard line. And Jakeem Grant ripped down in the open field. Excellent play in special teams for Wesley Hoker. Later on tonight, our ESPN college football doubleheader. Number 15 Texas A&M going on the road to take on number 24 Ole Miss, and then maybe a potential playoff team right now is Kevin Hogan, Christian McCaffrey, and number 10 Stanford trying to avoid an upset against Washington, which already knocked off ranked USC earlier in the season. Great doubleheader lined up for you later on tonight. That Ole Miss game, Laramie Tunsil back at tackle going up against Myles Garrett.
That's a preview to Sundays to come. That's an NFL matchup right there out on the edge.
You don't watch the left tackle or the defensive end a whole lot if you're watching on your couch. Watch left tackle, defensive end tonight. Ole Miss, Texas A&M. Mahomes, the pump, and the throw, which is deflected and intercepted. Picked up by Frank Shannon in his first start in nearly 2 years. And Charles Tapper continues to be a pest on the interior for this Oklahoma defense. He knocked it into the air.
That's a good word for it. Tapper did not get a very good rush. Number 91 out on the edge. Find the quarterback's eyes and get in the throwing lane. Tap it up in the air as Tapper does, and then Shannon picks it off. Tapper's the only guy up front out of a three-man rotation really last year for Oklahoma defensively that came back. Very productive, and he is a pest, like you said.
Boy, a couple of interceptions here, and the turnovers are becoming a huge story in this game. The other has been the Oklahoma rushing attack with 4 touchdowns on the ground. Pirine is in the game for the 20. And Samaje Pirine going right back between the tackles, running into Allen after a gain of about 4.
Yeah, a lot of times the offense in that quick change offense would like to throw it into the end zone and try to score right away. I don't think Oklahoma wants to do that with 3 minutes left in the first half. Grind it out and make Texas Tech feel it defensively the rest of this first half.
Oklahoma led 35-0 on the road last week at Kansas State. It'll be a 5-touchdown first half again. But a good stop by Awe as he stacks up Pirine, and Awe trying to get this defense riled up for Texas Tech. It's been one of the worst statistical defenses in college football. The takeaways are much better this year. More takeaways halfway through the year than they had all of last season. But this is still a defense that needs to make a couple of stands a game, and this could be one here.
Well, they could use another takeaway. There's no doubt about it right here. 3-by-1 creating a lot of room out here.
Mayfield throwing into one-on-one coverage, and it's dropped. Dahu Green, the true freshman, seeking his first career catch. The Oklahoma City native had it in his hands and could not corral it.
Yeah, Green is 6'4", 203 pounds. 3 receivers into the boundary, matched up on Nelson at 6'2", and certainly Green should have had that. It was about formationing. How can we create the best matchup? 3 receivers into the boundary, a lot of room out wide for Green. He just could not finish the play.
So a 32-yard try by Seibert, and Seibert missed it wide to the left. No good. The first miss of the true freshman's career.
Well, Texas Tech defensively somehow gets off the field. A drop by a receiver, and then Seibert kind of yanked this from the beginning.
Yeah.
Just kind of pulled it left. And Kingsbury likes the fact that his defense was able to get off the field without first giving up a touchdown, and then you take 3 points off the board as well.
While we have a moment, let's check in with Robert Flores. Man, Indiana will not go away against all these big-time teams that they're playing. Reggie Davis on the screen pass, stepping out of bounds, and that will stop the clock without having to use one of those 2 timeouts.
You know, Adam, I wondered how Michigan State could come back emotionally from last week. I mean, that's one of the hardest things to do as an athlete, win or lose, to boot it up again emotionally a week later, and Michigan State is having some issues doing that now.
Here comes Washington. And Washington close to the sticks. Based on where the current spot looks like it would be shy of the line to gain. It would be very close to the marker. They just need to get to the edge of the 30-yard line. 3rd down and short, and Washington slips through. And there goes DeAndre Washington holding on to the football as Dakota Austin caught up to him from behind at the 46-yard line. 18-yard run for Washington. Keeping the tempo going. Tunnel screen. It's grabbed by Grant. And Grant trying to fight for yardage as he got grabbed by Nelson, and or rather Stephen Parker, I should say, at the 49. Inside of a minute, still 2 timeouts for Texas Tech. Trying to take advantage of some miscues by Oklahoma here in the 2nd quarter. 4-man rush, Mahomes extending the play with his feet. And Patrick Mahomes taking off. He runs to the sticks, has the 1st down, and steps out to stop the clock at 41 seconds.
A lot of double moves outside by Texas Tech, trying to get a cheap one, but defended very well in coverage by Oklahoma thus far.
We'll set up at the 41-yard line with 41 ticks to go. And let's see what happens here. It's a timeout from Oklahoma defensively.
Takes his 2nd timeout of the half. 30 seconds in duration.
There have been some herky-jerky moments in this game. There have been some sloppy moments in this game. But as we take a look at our Pacific Live game summary, we've got an exciting game certainly shaping up. Both teams a couple of turnovers in this game. Texas Tech has taken advantage. And the ground game, maybe not the calling card for this Oklahoma team so far in the season, but they put up some good games, and they put up a good one so far.
I think Bob Stoops would like the ground game to become a calling card down the stretch. You think of the offenses, TCU and Baylor in particular, that Oklahoma has to defend down the stretch. Run the football is sometimes your best defense, and give those type of offenses less touches.
You got to look ahead when they play Baylor and TCU. You're going to want to keep those teams off the field, those offenses off the field as much as possible. 1st down and 10, Texas Tech. Patrick Mahomes, the 37th round draft pick of the Detroit Tigers a year ago. He's got a fastball. Unleashes it to the far side of the field. It's grabbed by Grant, and he steps out of bounds in front of Will Johnson. At the 34-yard line, getting closer and closer to Hatfield's potential field goal range. But again, they still have 2 timeouts to try to move the ball. On 2nd down, another screen thrown to the outside. This time it's Tony Brown. And Brown trying to lunge towards the sticks on his 12th career catch. And he is marked short, and that means that Texas Tech may have to use a timeout. However, there is a player injured on the field, and that's Balin Brown.
The right tackle for Texas Tech, and that was a bad decision by the receiver.
Now they are measuring here, as Mike DeFee said, and it is looking like it's going to be just short, based on the spot of the ball on the far side of the field. And indeed, it is a few chain lengths short. He'll have the explanation of the runoff and the timeout here.
Short of the line to gain, has elected to take its 2nd timeout of the half to avoid the 10-second run.
Yeah, Adam, you explained that very well, and that's a benefit, obviously, of having timeouts late in the half or late in games, is because you can avoid a situation just like that. Those 10 seconds obviously are very valuable for Texas Tech to have an opportunity not just to get 3, but to potentially get this in the end zone.
And again, you see the left leg is what Balin Brown was favoring.
I hate it when they take those knee braces off those big guys up front. It's usually not a good sign.
Emeka Okafor has come in to play right guard. Tony Morales moves to right tackle, and a big 3rd and 1 here for Texas Tech, trying to get points before the end of the half. Mahomes keeps it, and he's got the first down. Running towards the sideline and gets additional yardage and steps out near the 20. Excellent run by Pat Mahomes. 18 seconds left. They don't have to burn that final timeout.
Watch Mahomes here. He's an efficient runner with the football. He's not fast, but he's a little shifty and elusive, and he typically gets the most out of any run that's there for him.
They are in Hatfield's field goal range here. His long is 37 on the season. Of course, his high school long was 50, but they're in field goal range. Empty set, first down. Mahomes taking a shot to the end zone, and it's Austin picking it off. Dakota Austin thrust into duty with the injury to Sanchez, and he comes up with a huge interception, the 2nd of his career and his 1st in 2 seasons. And it's the 3rd pick of the day for Mahomes.
And Dakota Austin gets a little redemption because, quite frankly, the play calling from Texas Tech was picking on number 27. Sanchez is out, and Austin has had some issues, probably 4 or 5, maybe even a half dozen routes completed on 27 in coverage. And this one was intended to Davis out wide, and then Dakota Austin redeems himself to some extent and picks that one off. That was big.
Let's see if Oklahoma's content with an 11-point halftime lead. They certainly seem to be, as Mayfield will take the knee. The ground game got it done for Oklahoma in that first half. Takeaways, a huge story on both sides, and Austin comes away with an interception in the red zone to prevent Tech from scoring again after they had scored, taking advantage of 2 Oklahoma turnovers in that 2nd quarter. Baker Mayfield going up against his former club. His ground game getting it done to the tune of 28 on the board. Seemed like he was a little bit amped up at the start of this game, but Mayfield certainly settled down, and Pirine and Mixon both got it done on the ground.
And that's the way to get Mayfield settled down, right? Is to run the football right down the hill.
Let's check in with Olivia Harlan with Bob Stoops.
Coach, I know you wanted execution to accompany your tempo. Is the 200-plus rushing yards what you had in mind?
Yeah, that's all positive, but the turnovers are horrible. We're up 21-3, chance to go up 24-3. 28-3, our end of the field, and we fumbled the ball. That's bad football, so we got to do a better job.
Adjustments in the 2nd half?
Take care of the football more than anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
572 yards, 45 points, 5 turnovers combined. Shootout-esque here in the Big 12. Back to the studio after this message and a word from our guest. Down to Olivia. Let's check in.
Yeah, guys, both teams converting off of turnovers in the first half. Most notably, Texas Tech's Patrick Mahomes with 3 picks. I asked Coach Kingsbury what he thought. He said it's not a quarterback doubt. It's just really good pass coverage from the Sooners. Not bad reads from Mahomes. And on defense, dealing with Oklahoma's ground attack, not necessarily their calling card. He said he knew this week they'd ramp it up. His halftime message to his team, protect the football.
Olivia, Oklahoma 8th in the Big 12 in rushing coming into action today, but Samaje Perine had 132 yards in the first half. His 2nd 100-yard game rushing this season. That's it, after he had a half dozen last year. Sooners defer to the 2nd half. They get the ball from the 25-yard line as we take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. Hey, what do you know? The things that stuck out to Kelly to get to focus in on, along with the big story of the day, was Baker Mayfield coming in.
Yeah. By and large, Baker Mayfield had a pretty good half. He was amped up early. He just threw that one right into traffic and got a little greedy right there. But it was Pirine punishing people in that run game. The guys up front got lathered up and they liked it. And then Mahomes, that was just an athletic play by a really good athletic player and striker. The Texas Tech, they can't defend a lot of things well, but they can take the ball away at times, and it kept them in this game in the first half.
14 points off 2 turnovers. Fake to Pirine right in the middle of the zone. It's Sterling Shepard. And Shepard, who had a solid first half, will take it out across the 40 to the 42. 18 yards on the first play of the half.
Yeah, maybe more tempo in the first half or in the 2nd half, and also maybe more Shepard.
Nigel Bethel, though, is down on the deck for the 2nd time in this game. And he was having some trouble kind of picking himself up off the ground.
The trainer kind of massaging that hamstring, it looks like, on the backside.
Now Lincoln Riley takes some time to chat with his quarterback Baker Mayfield, two of the new additions in 2015 to the roster for Oklahoma. Of course, Mayfield sat out last year as a redshirt. Good to see Bethel back up on his feet. Heavily recruited sophomore out of one of the great high school programs in Booker T. Washington. So he's going to come off the field, and for the second time today, Thierry Guima, redshirt junior, born in Gabon and the resident of France for a long time before he came back to the United States. He's at the top of the formation. He's going to get the assignment for the time being on Duron Neal of Oklahoma. So 1st and 10. There is Guima. One pick against Sam Houston State in the opener this season. But it's now a top 10 FCS team in the Bearcats. Mayfield giving it to Joe Mixon. And there goes Joe Mixon with another big run and another burst. And Mixon taking it to the outside. Inside the 15. Biggest play of the day on the ground for the Oklahoma running game. 45 yards.
As the pressure walks up in the box to the right, Mayfield does a great job of checking to a run to the left. Great line of scrimmage maintenance by the quarterback.
On 1st down, Mayfield setting up, throws end zone, and it is batted away by Guima, coming up clutch against Neal. First time he's tested in that matchup with Bethel off the field.
A good play on the ball at the end of this. This was well thrown, and it looked like he was going to get through to Neal, but Guima breaks it up. And we've seen the play action before, kind of a boot to the left, typically throwing to the left, and that time Neal came clear across the back of the end zone, away from the way the quarterback was rolling.
Off play action to Pirine. Mayfield throws end zone. He's got Andrews. This kid's some kind of red zone target, and the redshirt freshman hauls it in for another score. Took 46 seconds. They went 3/4 of the field, and Andrews with his 5th touchdown of his redshirt freshman season. He was listed as a tight end in high school. He had Kyle Allen as his quarterback. He was one of the top-ranked tight ends in high school coming out, but he was no tight end. This guy,
6'5", 245.
This guy played outside receiver in high school, has great hands, a massive body. This guy is your typical red zone target.
Well, Lincoln Riley was saying, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to use this guy. Well, you know what? You may want to use him like that. Mayfield knows how to use him. That's good stuff.
The redshirt freshman out of Scottsdale, Arizona, with his 5th touchdown catch of the season already, and it's back to the largest lead of the game at 18 for OU. Hodgson kicking into the wind, and Jakeem Grant, Texas Tech's leading receiver, has been very quiet today, trying to get it done in the return game. And Grant grabbed from behind and brought down by Micaiah Quick. For those of you just joining us, if you didn't know the big headline of the week, it was Baker Mayfield, the walk-on at Texas Tech 2 years ago, Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year, without a scholarship, some miscommunication with Cliff Kingsbury, decides to transfer out with no scholarship offer at Oklahoma at the time. He enrolls before even contacting the coaches, redshirts 2014, runs the scout team, wins the job in 2015, extremely productive in his first 6 games. And for anybody who thought, oh, this is just another game for Baker Mayfield, who, by the way, to his credit, said all the right things, this guy's amped up today, and you can see it.
Yeah, he's just a little bit excited anyway, but he has extra motivation today. I guarantee you that makes a difference to that young man.
He had to harness it a little bit before this game. And so far, he's been rock solid for the most part. Mahomes for Grant, his 4th catch. And he takes it to the 32 as we check in with Olivia.
Yeah, guys, and he's changed throughout the game. After his first touchdown, he was really quiet, came to the bench, did not celebrate or really talk to anyone. Second one, he just had a moment with Samaj Pirine, and then progressively he's changed and getting more excited, having more fun. Coach Stoops, that's exactly what he wanted. He said, don't be the rah-rah guy. That's for everyone else.
Play in the backfield, blown up. Excellent play by Matt Diamond, first-year starter who had a sack last week. He blows the play up in the backfield. It's 3rd down and 6.
Adam Mayfield actually may have helped his defense right there. He was showing run on the sideline in his motion, and it definitely was a run that was blown up by his defense. He may be helping in more ways than one.
Patrick Mahomes trying to keep Texas Tech in it, spreads it out with 5 wide. 3 picks in the first half. He had thrown 6 all season coming in. Striker, he got away from him and got away from Alexander and got the first down. Excellent play by Patrick Mahomes. Continues to be slippery and elusive.
And this might be the best part of Mahomes' offense right here. The stuff that goes off script as we see that Texas Tech is going to hurry up again. But all of that was outside the design of the play and running away from some pretty good defenders from Oklahoma.
And 2 of the top tacklers in the Big 12, as a matter of fact. Grant is lined up at running back here next to Mahomes, and in Oklahoma maybe saw that and wanted to take a timeout. Trying to get Grant involved. He's had a quiet day. Texas Tech trying to get something going. The sticks for a first down. We haven't seen Texas Tech reach into the bag yet. You know there's always a couple plays that they can.
I think we're going to see it sooner than later, and I think that was going to be one of them if they could have snapped that before Oklahoma diagnosed it and burnt the timeout.
Well, this is good shot position here from the 48. They're going to instead go tunnel screen, and that's a rough pass from Mahomes because he put Lauderdale into a brutal spot to get blown up by P.L. Lindley. Lindley is in for the injured Devontae Bond, and Lauderdale couldn't do anything but run into a guy in a crimson jersey. Grant in the backfield. On 2nd down, Mahomes dumps it off. This is Grant. And he lost his footing as he got stretched out to the sideline by Frank Shannon.
And Adam, that was a good job by Shannon. You had it exactly right. Grant was in the backfield, and what happens is you run everyone off the coverage, and then you release Grant and throw it to him. Now he's matched up on a linebacker, but Shannon did a good job of chasing him down.
6 of 10 on 3rd down so far today is Texas Tech, but they need a crucial one here. Down by 18 in the 3rd. Oklahoma brings heat, and Mahomes is going to run against the blitz, and he'll make a good decision. First down as he gets to the sideline and run out into the bench by Khalil Houghton, and that's going to be a late hit against the true freshman out of Waco, Texas. Nothing malicious, but I don't think he could stop his momentum, and it eventually becomes a penalty.
After the play, personal foul. They hit out of bounds. Defense number 8. 15-yard penalty to the Anderson dead ball spot. Automatic first down.
Highly sought after safety is Khalil Houghton, but that's a clear late hit. He made some significant contact after the play.
Yeah, quarterback Mahomes was obviously well out of bounds, and a good job by Mahomes of knowing what direction to escape that time. The spinner safety was rotating to a one-high look and left a lot of room to the right side for Mahomes.
And I think Oklahoma was bringing at least 5, maybe even 6 on that play, and all of a sudden there's a lot of space and a lot of green in front of him.
And that's what Mike Stoops likes to do. They like to play a lot of one-high safety with man-to-man underneath, and Mahomes has to know where the spinner safety is coming from. That time they rotated to the right and left a lot of room out to the right in the flat.
Mahomes has actually been one of the best rushers for Texas Tech today, averaging nearly 7 a carry. He's got 68 yards on the ground. DeAndre Washington has 72.
But in the meantime, Adam, Texas Tech looking to cash one in right here and get back in this thing again. Every time it seems like Oklahoma has Texas Tech on the ropes, here comes Texas Tech once again.
Had to add about 20 seconds back to the clock as Washington has a block in front, and he's got very little room to go anywhere as Matt Romar, who had a fantastic game, a couple of weeks back against Texas, is there to make the stop.
Yeah, Romar was blowing up Texas in the front 7 and then got hurt, and he is a very active player at 6 foot, 290 pounds, like a bowling ball in there.
Washington got grabbed from behind by Charles Walker and brought down. Again, red zone efficiency was a problem for Texas Tech. Cliff Kingsbury said they didn't play with enough urgency last week. Today, 3 of 4 in the red zone. A couple of touchdowns and a field goal. There was a red zone pick at the end of the first half by Mahomes. Big 3rd down and 7 coming up here. Stockton is the last man on the field for Texas Tech's offense. And they line up the receivers very wide. Now they bring one closer to the line. And Stockton on 3rd down has nowhere to go. Oklahoma scout in the middle. And maybe a surprising play call on 3rd and a little longer than medium. Those were 3rd and 6 or 7.
I was going to say the exact same thing. That was a little interesting. When you have an offense that's predicated on going horizontally so you can go vertically, and then you run right up into the mouth of a defense. I didn't understand that one at all. And that might have been all on the quarterback, because I don't know that Cliff Kingsbury understood it. The look on his face right there.
So from 27, Hatfield is 2 for 2 now on the day. Points for Texas Tech. They're back within 2 scores. Still a lot of football to play. 9:16 for the 3rd here in Norman. Set to host the 1-5 Baltimore Ravens. Flacco trying to get the Ravens off the ground a little bit. Monday Night Countdown starts at 6 on ESPN. Landry Jones slated to make his first career start against the Kansas City Chiefs. Alex Ross has not had much of a chance at all today, and he's going to take a knee out to the 25 from Oklahoma. Let's take a look at today's AT&T's strong performance. Samaje Perine, just his second 100-yard game of the season on the ground.
And very well blocked up front, but we got the sense that Bob Stoops was wanting to see this out of his offense. It is the air raid, but the modern air raid gets a lot out of the run game, and Perine is a guy that I firmly believe gets better the more he touches it and sees it. And you see this duo right here is something that the Big 12 is going to have to deal with down the road.
First time that Oklahoma's had 2 100-yard rushers in a game since last season against Texas Tech. It's been a problem for their defense, the rush, for quite some time now. It's been a problem today, especially in between the tackles. And a stretch to the edge this time, and there goes Samaje Perine. Running angry today, takes it inside the 30-yard line at Texas Tech, where Bethel finally catches up to him.
And just simple zone blocking up front. The offensive line, the more you run the football, the more they get lathered up and get a feel for the running back behind him, and they're feeling it right now at Oklahoma.
Longest run of the season for Oklahoma, that was 48 yards. This is Jeffrey Mead with his 4th catch of his career. But Perine has helped Oklahoma's rushing attack put together a season-high 309 and counting here in the 3rd quarter.
And remember, coming into this year, Adam, Oklahoma was replacing 3/5 of their offensive line, and they had a very good offensive line a year ago. They lost 5 guys that had a collective 145 starts. They're just now starting to get settled in this season.
Especially at the tackle spot. Darrell Williams, Tyrus Thompson, both NFL draft picks last season. There's Mixon now, has been the, if you want to use the cliched thunder and lightning term, he's been the lightning. He's been the quicker guy going between the tackles, and J.J. Gaines stops him after he picks up the first.
And I think that is important. When you change the running back skill set, you change the angles a little bit defensively, and I think that's what's happening between Mixon, a little shiftier, and then Perine, who hits you right in the face mask.
Mixon breaks 1 tackle in the backfield, and Mixon breaks off a first down run inside the 5. He's fired up now too, dragging Johnson and Allen with him. It's 1st and goal. Oklahoma, and the running attack has been something else today.
Patience and vision. Mixon showed it right there.
Mayfield trying to shake away from Allen, who grabs him for a loss. The play by Dakota Allen, the redshirt freshman, one of the top tacklers already in the Big 12, stopping Mayfield. Baker Mayfield said he said the right things all week long, but his teammates did say that he seemed a little bit more amped up, and I can't believe that a kid in any situation, at any position, wouldn't want a little bit of revenge after he was spurned in some way, shape, or form by a former school and coach. P. Ryan, what cut, another touchdown. Over 180 yards on the ground for Sriracha and P. Ryan today.
Dimitri Flowers, who's an H-back, fullback type of guy, number 36, did such a good job of slicing across the formation, kicking out, but you called it, Adam, to plant that left foot and get down into the end zone. I mean, the one cut and get downhill is what that run was about.
Sliced in by Seibert.
Watch Flowers come on the motion, and then he kicks out. He's a 230-pounder. He'll come in motion right here. It's called slice. He actually pulled a guard there, too. And then it's the read by P. Ryan. He sees that his fullback is going to have leverage, pushing the defense outside, so you cut and get up in behind it. Pull a guard, pull the 230-pounder, and then P. Ryan, who knows how to finish, does just that into the end zone.
For the third time today. When we're done here in Norman on ABC Saturday Night Football presented by Walmart, one of the great running backs in the country, you'll see Ezekiel Elliott with new starting quarterback J.T. Barrett for the #1 Ohio State Buckeyes into the birthplace of college football at Rutgers. We'll look at our Northwestern Mutual college football rankings. #1 Ohio State on the road at Rutgers tonight. You'll see that later on this evening. Clemson just blitzed past Miami 58-0. Some games in action right now as well. Michigan State getting all he can handle, and Baylor did not score 60 points today. They got to 45.
They got tired or something. They had 35, I think, at halftime.
Yeah, they did. Only 10 points in the second half.
Remember, November 3rd, the polling really begins.
That's
when
right.
The Committee of 13, the College Football Playoff Committee, starts ranking people. And I think with J.T. Barrett now starting for Ohio State, I might see fit to move him into my top 4.
Yeah, you did not have him in your top 4 last week. You had him just on the outside looking in a week ago. Again, a kick into the wind by Hodgson. Grant trying to get it going. In the return game from the 3-yard line. He's got a lot of space if he can get past some defenders, and there goes Grant. It was actually Hodgson, the kicker, who forced him back to the inside. And he has decent field position out at the 37. So these are your current top 4, and knowing that Baylor and TCU will have to play at some point. There's a lot of football to play, obviously, but these are your top 4 plus the first 2 out.
What do you think? What do you think of my top 4? You haven't really said much. You just kind of throw them out there, and then you don't really comment on whether you like it or not.
Utah throws me off a little bit at #1. I know they've been playing exceptional football, but I saw them get tested a little bit last week against Arizona State. So as a #1 team, they stick out that way.
Yeah, that's true. And I could move that a little bit, but I like them because they defend, they run it, they defend the run, and they play special teams. That travels and plays well against anybody.
They're #3 team in the country right now. They're an underdog against USC. Mahomes taking a shot. He actually overthrew Devin Lauderdale, incomplete, with Thomas in coverage. I'm excited for Ohio State, though, tonight. Again, you'll see it on ABC. Chris Fowler gave a good interview in the Asbury Park Press, one of the local Jersey papers, to a writer, Ryan Dunleavy, and said he expects a 4-quarter fist fight from Rutgers as they host the #1 team for the first time in 13 years.
And don't be surprised if Rutgers is in that one to the end. I mean, they may very well do that. They defend pretty well, but I think J.T. Barrett, quite frankly, is going to be the difference. I think that should have been the quarterback choice from the beginning.
Mahomes on second down, kind of floating it for Ian Sadler, but a little out of his reach, and it's 3rd down and 10.
Yeah, and he actually had Sadler. Mahomes kept the play alive, was moving to his right, and as a quarterback, you have to judge that. You're moving, the receiver's moving, you have to take a little bit off the ball, and if you don't, it'll sail on you like it did Mahomes right there.
On 3rd down. Mahomes, another shot, this time to the outside. And it's grabbed by Lauderdale as he's ripped down by Thomas. A good play for Texas Tech to get into Oklahoma territory.
Jordan Thomas was on the coverage and just man-to-man outside. We've seen a lot of that. One high safety, man-to-man underneath, and Lauderdale did a nice job of coming back for that ball.
Screen thrown out to the sideline for Reggie Davis. But grabbed at the ankles by Will Johnson, who's done a nice job as the nickel today, but may have tweaked something as he is gingerly getting back up and trying to work his way back, and he's down on the deck.
Will Johnson has been that nickel back that's been in the game. Stephen Parker typically plays there, but what Mike Stoops discovered last week actually against Kansas State was they have a really good combination by keeping Parker at the safety and getting a lot out of Will Johnson at that nickel back position.
Maybe a cramp as he's getting some water while we have a moment. Roflo back in the studio. Looking at some group of 5 teams. Toledo's been up there this year. Memphis obviously put up some big numbers down the road against Tulsa last night in their victory. They beat Ole Miss last week. Houston was ranked coming into this week. Just the American Conference has been really good. Toledo's out of the MAC. These are teams that could make some serious impact as we get closer towards the college football playoff rankings.
Yeah, the AAC certainly is making some noise. In Boise State, they got taken out behind the woodshed by Utah State 2 weeks ago. And then Utah State has the same thing happen to them against San Diego State. So I think certainly Boise State is completely out of the picture. They were probably my favorite to be that team this year.
And I can't forget about the Temple Owls. They've got a game against Notre Dame coming up next week. That's going to be pretty big. Sadler has the first down. And Sadler shoved out of bounds inside the Oklahoma 30-yard line.
Sadler was running an out route on Frank Shannon at that linebacker position. And trust me, if Oklahoma has to make a living at that, Texas Tech wants to go back to it again. That's a mismatch.
Option, Mahomes forced to keep it. Got past Stryker with a flag thrown on the play and dumped down at about the 23-yard line. Let's check the marker here. His ability to extend plays has been maybe the biggest thing that has changed the Texas Tech offense. Cliff Kingsbury talked to several writers about it before the year.
Holding. Defense number 93. 10-yard penalty added at the end of the run. Yardage results in a first down.
Wade on the holding penalty on Oklahoma.
And remember that Kingsbury has some experience with that kind of improv. His name is Manziel, and he harnessed it pretty well. But you have to, there's a fine line, is not to choke him down too much and still get that improv out of him. And he's doing a really good job with Mahomes, because you're right, that might be the best part of this offense currently.
Now Kingsbury, the one-year offensive coordinator at A&M when Manziel won the Heisman. Washington trying to bounce left and tackled in the backfield. Walker and Alexander both there to stop him right at the line of scrimmage. Second down and 10. And don't take away what makes him special, and that might be what really makes Pat Mahomes a special player, his ability to use his feet in a really impressive fashion.
Because you want him to stay within the confines of the offense.
Right, exactly.
You don't want to do with that special talent, like you said.
Eric Morris now in his 3rd season as the offensive coordinator for Texas Tech. Oklahoma's going to use another timeout on defense here.
Oklahoma takes a second timeout.
5 minutes to go here in the 3rd. Texas Tech trying to get a touchdown, but they're in field goal range as we celebrate the 11th year of the All-State Nets, sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets. Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for every field goal kick. And to date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds. For these two teams, it's the 23rd meeting all time. Oklahoma's won 16 of the 22. In the Big 12 era, 13 of the 19 belong to the Sooners. Kingsbury came in 0-5 on the road against ranked teams. 0-2 in his first 2 meetings with Oklahoma against Bob Stoops.
Remember the last time Texas Tech was down here, it was 3rd and 6, I believe, and they ran it right into the mouth of the defense. So you would think they would be a little more creative after having to settle for a field goal the last trip into the red zone.
Texas Tech too explosive of an offense to ever think they're out of a game, but they need touchdowns. Taking the screen, Mahomes wanted to get Davis. Now he dumps it back out for Grant, and Grant lunging for the pylon. He's in. Touchdown, Texas Tech. They needed a touchdown. It's ruled as a touchdown, and Grant, who's been quiet for most of the day, punches it in.
This was a really good job at a secondary route. They were trying to show screen as you see Grant lunging into the end zone and gets that ball across. Just penetrate the front part of the end zone line, or actually go back one more time because his right foot was out.
This play, out.
I think this play is going to come up about a yard short.
I think 1.5 yards is where his right foot. Watch it right here.
To stop it right there.
Yeah, I think he's out.
That foot is out. The ball's going to be out on about the half-yard line, but it was a good adjustment by both Grant and Mahomes because what they were trying to do is show the screen, and then typically the guy that blocks for the screen leaked into the corner of the end zone, well defended down the field, but then you dump it to a guy like Grant who can get something done with it.
I think Davis was the guy who had leaked towards the middle of the end zone.
I think you're
That's
right.
who Mahomes seemingly was looking at when that was covered. Back out to Grant, which is basically the 3rd read at that point. And Grant did a nice job of getting close to the end zone, if not in.
Yeah, our camera people just made it really easy for the referee right there to call this one the half-yard line.
And Gary Brown's our replay official. Mike DeFee is on the headset right now. Watch where the ball is when the right foot goes out right there about the half-yard line.
Yep, I think we're good about right there.
And nicely
Foot's
done.
down. Good job, guys.
Our fantastic production crew led by Brian Boyle, Bob Frateroli, and a slew of men and women who've been outstanding for us for the first 7 weeks of the season. And ruling on the field is a touchdown. Seemingly there is enough evidence with the right foot going out of bounds to overturn the call. It will still be 1st and goal coming up here for Texas Tech, if indeed they overturn the initial ruling. And as we said, Texas Tech just too explosive.
After further review, the runner's right foot hit the sideline. The ball short of the goal. It'll be 1st and goal at the 1 yard line on the right half. Please set the game clock to 4:59.
Well, I beg your pardon, but it should be at the half-yard line.
Yeah, I thought
a good look at it.
Well, the ball was. I'm surprised they kind of pushed it back, but here you go. Tech needs a touchdown now. They've got 4 chances, and trust me, this seems like 4-down territory. They got 4 chances to punch this one in. Extra offensive lineman to the right side. That's Castaneda. It'll be Mahomes on the sneak. Looked like he may have broken the plane, but it's going to be up to the line judge, who raises his arms, and it's a touchdown for Texas Tech, officially here. That's now 7 rushing touchdowns on the year for Patrick Mahomes.
And a really good push. You talked about it. They had the extra offensive lineman in Castaneda. And if you can stop the initial penetration, it's typically low man wins up front in those short yardage situations and goal line situations, and that was Texas Tech right there.
I think the low man was Castor, the center. So big 75 getting low there for Tech. And they're right back within 2 scores. So still inside of 5 to play. A lot of time in this game for 2 explosive offenses to try to make something work, as you see Castor on the sideline. A couple more games on ESPN. These are some marquee matchups. The only matchup of ranked FBS teams, A&M and Ole Miss. Kevin Sumlin going on the road. And then Washington will get set to take on number 10 Stanford. Kevin Hogan has been so efficient. Christian McCaffrey has been killing it. Had that monster game last week on a Thursday night, putting up 4 touchdowns. You'll see that doubleheader starting at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight. And of course, Kevin Sumlin, who was the head coach at A&M when Cliff Kingsbury was the offensive coordinator there. Had that big year with Johnny Manziel. Sumlin has 5 wins on the road against AP-ranked teams since 2012. That's tied for the most. I don't think a lot of people would realize that.
And that's a proven game, I think, between A&M and Ole Miss.
It feels like an elimination game, doesn't it?
Oh, I think it's definitely that, but I think it's a proven. Who are you right now? If you want to be a big boy in the SEC, then You need to have a big boy response in that game tonight.
You know, you and I had a conversation, and there's a long way to go, but the guys on game day had a great conversation about what if the SEC and the Pac-12 both get left out at the end of the year. If Notre Dame has a big run to close out the year, if the Big 12 representative is already in, if Ohio State and Florida State both go unbeaten, what do you do? This is a penalty marker throw, and that ball was out of bounds before it reached the end zone.
I think that's the kind of chaos I'm looking for.
You like
I
the
don't
chaos.
want any
You love chaos.
conference in particular being left out, but I want chaos.
Free kick out of bounds by the kicking. Ball will be placed at the 35-yard line. First and 10.
Well, Clayton Hatfield with the procedure penalty and decent field position coming up here. You want to talk offensive line? Let's get inside the trenches here.
How about a couple of impact players? Our left tackle in Orlando Brown and Samia, the other tackle, the other bookend, and you get two running backs behind them that are physical, they're decisive, they have good vision, they've had good patience at times, and the run game is what Bob Stoops wanted to see today, and he's seen it in spades.
There's Brown, the redshirt freshman left tackle. This is Mixon trying to run up the middle, and Texas Tech with a stop. A loss of 1 on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 11 coming up here. But again, this is Jonathan Alvarez. You have Brown, a redshirt freshman, Samia, a true freshman, and Oklahoma. Maybe not their calling card, as Olivia talked about with Bob Stoops earlier, but 329 on the ground, a season high. Tech just got a stop, though, against the run, and now it looks like a passing formation for Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. Tech needs some stops. Mayfield to pass. Taking the one-on-one shot. Down the sideline, and it's incomplete. Big play by Nigel Bethel against Neal. Boy, Bethel has hit the deck twice, seemingly with some injuries, perhaps a cramp or two, but he comes up big on that play to force 3rd and long.
And this was a late throw, but a tremendous throw by Mayfield. But watch Bethel right at the very end. He plays the football in the hand. Don't panic if you're in the trail position as Bethel was on Neal. Play the ball when it enters the neighborhood, and Nigel Bethel did a tremendous job on that play. Don't panic as a young defensive back. Just play the ball when it gets into your zip code.
Cal, this feels like a big 3rd down right now, especially for Texas Tech to try to get off the field.
I couldn't agree more.
It's a 4-man rush. Mayfield, a little bit of pressure. Mixon with a one-handed catch. Can anybody tackle him in the open field? They cannot. At least not before he gets the 1st down. Joe Mixon gets a fire today, and he picks up 13. Who is a huge cog in this Texas Tech defense. The heartbeat of that D was down.
But watch the catch on this screen, and very good job of setting it up out front, but the adjustment, the body position by Mixon to catch that football. And it was Nigel Bethel on that play that missed the tackle, but it was more about just getting a snoot full of number 25 Joe Mixon on that. What a finisher of plays. Both running backs, Mixon and P-line, they make you earn it when you come to tackle those two.
Mixon still in along with Flowers. Going right back to him. Trying to find an alley. And it seems like he gets contacted, that time by Allen, and then he still runs for 3 or 4, maybe even 5 extra yards. Picks up 8 on that play when it felt like it could have only been 4 or 5.
And the good running backs always fall forward when they're tackled, and both Pirine and Mixon have done a very good job of that today.
Look at that, 10 yards a carry. Well, another Texas Tech player is down, and you wonder if it is cramps right now. We've seen it happen a couple of times, at least based on how the training staff has come out to try to look at some players. And
Justin Nelson is actually holding his right hand.
Yeah.
You can't get off the field when your right hand is hurt. That's what they're taught these days, though. You know, to slow down these fast offenses, even if it's an upper body injury, go to the ground and buy some time.
Yeah, the crowd booed. They thought that's what they were on the same line of thinking as you, as Nelson has to get helped up. Well, we told you we have Stanford, Washington tonight out west. As soon as that's done, Sports Center at night to wrap up what's been a big day in college football. Will continue to be a huge night tonight, but when Washington Stanford is done, we'll slide over to Sports Center at night. Also streaming live on Watch ESPN. We have our World Series matchup as well. It'll be Mets and Royals starting up early in the week next week. Pirine is back into the game along with Mixon on 2nd down and 2. This is the 58th snap for Oklahoma. It's the 40th run play, and it's another big play for Mixon, who makes Gaines miss in the open field and then gets taken down inside the 30-yard line by Tevin Madison.
And Adam, out of that two-back run game, everything is saying run left on that side, but if you don't close the back door defensively, Mixon has already demonstrated the ability to get there both with vision and with speed, and he does it on that play, the cut back to the right.
Now both Pirine and Mixon are up above 150 yards on the day. 186 for Pirine, 152 for Mixon. They've combined for 5 rushing touchdowns. Mayfield has 1 passing touchdown to Andrews today. Mixon is grabbed and brought down. Good play by Awe. That'll force 2nd and long. We've seen that already on this drive. 2nd and long, 3rd and long, but Texas Tech's defense spending a lot of time on the field.
And even though it's 2nd and long, you don't want to abandon the run game. And sometimes offenses will adjust before the defenses force you to do that. You can manage this down in distance by running a successful run again right here.
Texas Tech defensive coordinator David Gibbs in his first season. 7th defensive coordinator the last 7 years for Texas Tech. They do spread it out on 2nd and long. Late blitz for Texas Tech. There's one-on-one coverage downfield. It was Mixon on the wheel route against Gaines, and the flag is thrown. J.J. Gaines, who leads the Big 12 with 4 picks, may get flagged here.
Pass interference. Defense number 3. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic. First down.
And getting them into long situations, but again, fresh set of downs for Oklahoma's offense.
And what a luxury to have when you can put Mixon in the slot, number 25, matched up on J.J. Gaines, and then you can have this result at the end. And that's another staple of the Mike Leach air raid offense,
right,
is getting guys on wheel routes from the slot position to get matchups like that.
5th accepted penalty against Texas Tech. Just 2 against Oklahoma so far today. There is Pirine, and Awe is there to spin him down at the 16. Awe, born in Lagos, Nigeria, one of the top tacklers in the Big 12. We have another injury here. Yeah, looks like Dakota. Nope, that is not Dakota Allen. That is Demetrius Alston, a senior out of Norcross, Georgia, the junior college transfer. Let's check in with Robert in the studio.
Uh-oh.
Tennessee hasn't won against Alabama on the 3rd Saturday in October since that Arian Foster comeback some time ago, almost a decade ago, I think. So Alston's getting tended to. Let's check in with Olivia on the sideline.
Guys, Texas Tech corner Justice Nelson, he went down with a hand injury on that last play and on that last drive, and Oklahoma fans were booing. Well, he came to the sideline and his hand was shaking, and trainers asked him to make a fist, and he could not close his hand in a full fist. They just took him into the locker room.
But Olivia, you said he went down with a hand injury. That's a problem I have. You don't go down with a hand injury. You go off to the sideline with a hand injury, and I think that's what the crowd doesn't like right now. All of a sudden there's some injuries showing up when Oklahoma wants to put the pedal to the metal.
2nd down 10 coming up here. Some might call it gamesmanship, right?
Yeah, they might call it something else where I come from.
2nd down 10 with Pirine in the backfield with Mayfield. The fake, the slant behind Westbrook, incomplete. That was thrown in front of Gima in coverage, and it's 3rd down and 10. Big 3rd down here again as well. But at this point, a field goal does make it a 3-score lead for Oklahoma. They've been good on 3rd down so far, and Texas Tech has done them some favors too.
Right now you have Sterling Shepard up by himself up here with 3 receivers away from him. You would think they would try to find number 3 sooner or later.
Matched up with Bethel at the top.
And you see the safety creeping over to give help over the number 1 receiver as well.
Mayfield to the middle. It's caught. It's a touchdown for Deron Neal. A backbreaker for Oklahoma. And the second touchdown pass of the day for Baker Mayfield. Man, it's been some third quarter offensively for the Sooners.
Mayfield stared down his receiver Neal for quite some time, and Johnson, the safety, broke on it. It just took a bad angle.
22-point lead now for Oklahoma.
And watch where Mayfield's head goes initially. He's staring down Neal early on, and then number 7 at the top right there is Johnson. Just takes a bad angle. He diagnoses the route, but doesn't see the route to finish on the same line as the football. You see right there, in the end, Johnson ends up deeper than the receiver did. He did all the hard work, just didn't finish properly in the proper angle.
1:03 to play third quarter. Oklahoma at one point led by 18. Texas Tech was able to cut it back to one score, but back to a 22-point game from Memorial Stadium. Adam Amin, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan. Marquee game in the Big 12 this week. With Texas Tech and that high-powered offense trying to come on the road and get a ranked win on the road for the first time under Cliff Kingsbury. But Oklahoma, which has one blemish on its season, and that was that get behind quick and watch Texas churn away the clock type of game where they just could not get the offense going. Their offense has been really good the last few weeks. 55-0 last week against K-State, and now 49 points, not even through 3 quarters here today against Texas Tech.
And really, Oklahoma outplayed Texas the majority of that game, quite frankly. They were down 14-0 early and outscored them 17-10 the rest of the way. And the offense just started a little bit too slow.
Into the wind, the kick for Grant from the goal line. 3 kick return touchdowns in Grant's career. And he's had a couple of good returns, but it's chopped down by Haughton, shy of the 20-yard line at the 17. So this is what we got going on tonight. Big matchups on the ESPN networks. Again, A&M on the road at Ole Miss. Sumlin, 5 road wins since 2012. 28 straight ACC wins, but Florida State has to go on the road tonight. Stanford at home. They had a long stretch where they couldn't beat Washington. They won 6 of the last 7. And then J.T. Barrett expecting the 4-quarter fist fight tonight with Rutgers.
And don't sleep on Georgia Tech. Florida State having to go to play Georgia Tech on the road either. It's about time that offense gets untracked, and it's always a difficult offense to defend.
Mahomes to the sideline and caught by Lauderdale for a first down. Yeah, we were talking about those scenarios, and I just thought it was interesting because the Game Day gang made some good points. If, say, Notre Dame makes a big run, they've got Stanford at the end of the year. They're a one-loss team to Clemson. How do you keep them out potentially of the mix? And who gets the short end of the stick? Is it the SEC? Is it the Pac-12? This still feels like, I know we're using basketball terms, but this is, most conferences are one big conferences, and eventually one team is going to come out of this Big 12, the victor through that November eliminator. So do you keep them out, or do you put them in if the team is undefeated? I think there's so many interesting scenarios as we're diving into the second half of the year. Second down 8, Mahomes out wide for Sadler. Pushes away Austin with a stiff arm and then gets brought down by Johnson. That's why that A&M Ole Miss matchup feels big tonight. That feels like an elimination game.
I think you're right. I think that's a fair title for that game, elimination game. I think the Ole Miss winning out is maybe the SEC's worst case scenario, to be quite honest with you.
Because they've lost a couple times, including a loss to Memphis earlier this season, lost to Florida. Here it is Oklahoma with a 22-point lead. Impressive third quarter, 3 long drives for touchdowns. ESPN College Football continues after this message and a word from our ABC stations. For that offensive line. So second down and a quarter of the field now for Texas Tech. Under pressure by Walker. Just a three-man rush that time for Oklahoma, and that's getting to Mahomes. And it's going to be 3rd down and a mile.
And Walker, from his defensive tackle position, did a nice job of just continuing to work. So many times at that tackle position, it doesn't happen early, especially rushing the quarterback, but you have to continue to work, and in the end, it gets Mahomes out of bounds. Not an easy way to extend the drive.
Went screen here, trying to give Grant an opportunity to get a lot of yardage, but will be hit shy of the 40. Taken down by Shannon. Feels like 4-down territory at this point. Texas Tech wants to stay in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll go for it right here. Why not?
We'll need about 11 yards here. Pressure coming. Stryker grabbed him by the waist. And down goes Mahomes as Diamond got him from up top. Turnover on downs, and Oklahoma takes over.
Stryker got off the ball so quickly, that play had no chance. The linchpin of the defense, Stryker off the edge, gets a good jump. This play was dead on arrival.
Only Baylor has averaged more total yards per game. Only Bowling Green State has had more passing yards per game than Texas Tech so far this season. But for the most part, Oklahoma's defense has stymied what has been an explosive Texas Tech offense all year. They just scored 30 in every game. And another big run here for Samaje Perine as he works into Texas Tech territory, running into Gima. He's 2nd down here. Perine getting close to 200 yards on the day. Ran for 213 last year against Texas Tech with 3 touchdowns.
And we got the sense that Oklahoma certainly was going to want to highlight their what they thought was a good advantage up front, and we've seen that. 2 really good running backs and an offensive line that has gotten in sync with them today.
Nothing much there as Dakota Allen makes the stop. Having to get up on the bottom of that pile. Flowers a little bit slow to get up after that play as well. Perine and Mixon both over 150 plus.
Look at that average.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Again, this was the biggest issue. Texas Tech's defense has been bad this year, and their defensive coordinator said as much, David Gibbs, but you know what you're getting when you get to Texas Tech. It's a rebuilding job on that side of the football, and Texas Tech is trying to improve the defense. They didn't play poorly against 2 lesser opponents in this conference in Iowa State and Kansas. They played well in those games coming into this, so you felt maybe some confidence for these guys on the defensive side of the football. But again, he knows what is at stake and what is going to be necessary to try to improve what is a defense that's been a little leaky this year and in years past.
Yeah, David Gibbs certainly knows what he wants to get done, and it's going to center on taking the football away and defending the red zone, but there are also some recruiting that needs to go on.
Sure. 3rd down and 5 here for Oklahoma. Texas Tech had a top 40 recruiting class this year. They're 35th in terms of recruiting this year. A bunch of Big 12 teams are in the top 40, so recruiting is getting good. Over the top of the defense, it is Westbrook beating Madison on a nice floating pass by Mayfield to convert on 3rd down. 27 yards there.
A lot of times from the slot position, the inside receiver releases on the fade outside, and it just creates separation. Madison could not stay up with the receiver, Westbrook, that time, and that's where I think Texas Tech needs to take a step forward in recruiting those guys on the back end. Oklahoma, as an example, they can get pressure, keep one high, and cover man-to-man. Texas Tech isn't quite there yet.
Perine, a couple yards there.
We talked about the kind of the dress rehearsal for Oklahoma going forward, and David Gibbs knows that he has his hands full, and he knows he has some pieces to add to the puzzle. But Oklahoma going forward, remember, they still have the gauntlet to run down the stretch. TCU, Baylor, and Oklahoma State. So offensively and defensively, Oklahoma is still going to be tested down the road more than they have at this point in the season.
Texas Tech has some games to try to grow a little bit as well. Pirine threw a crushing block on the outside. Nixon taking it back and cutting it back towards the inside of the 14-yard line. Again, Texas Tech trying to get bowl eligible after they had a rough season last year and missed out on a bowl. Meanwhile, Oklahoma, look at the gauntlet. You were talking about it. Starting November 14th, Baylor on the road, TCU at home, and then at Oklahoma State, which is suddenly looking like a big, big game.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is this conference really down the stretch runs through Oklahoma State. Oklahoma,
That's right,
Baylor, and TCU all have to go to Stillwater.
That's an excellent point.
It is going to be interesting in this conference.
Now, Stillwater is going to become the center of the college football universe for the last 3 weeks of the season. There is Pirine. He gets chopped down after picking up the first down by Micah Howey. Again, for those of you who just joined us today, some terrible news in Stillwater. Our hearts and prayers go out to everybody. And they were very classy about it here in Norman. They spent some time, a moment of silence before the game today after there was an accident at the homecoming parade in Stillwater. Oklahoma State did play as scheduled, and Oklahoma State was in control most of their game earlier today. 199 yards for Samaje Pirine. Mayfield churning as much of the clock as possible. Mayfield keeping it, and he gets brought down by Pete Robertson. Good to see him back on the field for Texas Tech. Mayfield 14 of 21, over 200 yards passing, an early interception, but a couple of touchdowns since.
And that interception was really about the only really poor decision I saw of the young man. And we talked about that, needing to kind of manage his emotions because of the history that he's had with Texas Tech. And I think he's been very successful at doing just that today.
Neal, Shepard blocking, and Neal steps out near the 5. And there is a penalty marker thrown after the play. Deshaun Johnson was coming out of bounds.
After the play, personal fouls. They get out of bounds. Defense 7. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
First down anyway, and not going to hurt you much in terms of penalty yardage. About the 2.5-yard line or so.
And it was way late. You can see number 7 is going to come flying in right there. And Neal is clearly out of bounds. It was interesting to see Sterling Shepard's reaction on that play, because in this air raid system, the wide receivers really have to block on screens, and Shepard felt that he blocked it up really well and thought Neal was very late getting to the outside. He thought he blocked well enough to take Neal into the end zone.
You have to be a good blocking wide receiver in both of these offenses with all the perimeter stuff these two teams do. Pirine over 200 yards, and Pirine lunging in for touchdown number 4 today. The breakout game that Oklahoma and Bob Stoops was hoping for from Samaje Pirine. 55 points back-to-back weeks for the Sooners.
Last year, Pirine had 263 carries for over 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, and some people were wondering, is there anything wrong with him? Because his numbers were somewhat pedestrian compared to that. But this is what the young man can do. He wears on people, and he finishes drives, and it's just a different approach now, schematically, that, quite frankly, Lincoln Riley is finding out how to use the guys he has at running back.
Oklahoma snapped it 71 times. 49 snaps have been rushes today.
After the game.
That's what they do. This is what they're going to do. I'm excited to see it. Pirine, 4 touchdowns. Had that big 5-touchdown, 427-yard game against Kansas last year, setting the FBS record a week after Melvin Gordon And busted LT's record. Belongs to P. Ryan now. He's got 4 scores, and we've got Roflo in the studio. Robert. Talking about big-time running backs, Ezekiel Elliott certainly one of them, and throughout the season he's still been the constant, regardless of who's been the quarterback at Ohio State, whether it's been Jones and now J.T. Barrett getting the start tonight for the first time this year. Elliott's been a constant back there. Mahomes under pressure. Down he goes. Eric Stryker in on it, along with big number 97 Charles Walker.
Stryker is that linchpin defensively for Mike Stoops. He gives him so much versatility. Is he a linebacker or is he an edge rusher?
Mahomes plenty of time all day to throw. And the release to the outside for Davis in front of Austin, who grabs him before he can get the first down.
Tell you what, Dakota Austin is getting baptized today, isn't he? He's had a lot of action. Zach Sanchez went down early in this game, and they're already missing Marcus Green as well at that quarterback position. And Dakota Austin is getting some good work.
3rd down 1. Keep it on the ground here, and a stumbling Washington is able to hold on to it. Keep his feet enough to grab the first down, running into Shannon. Texas Tech going forward. We're going to have Oklahoma State at home next week. That's about a 50-50 shot in terms of what the FPI predicts that game to look like. Both teams, at least coming into this week. That ball deflected out of the hand of Mahomes, and Alexander dives to it to try to pick it up. He's got the interception. It was deflected by DJ Ward, tomahawking the right arm of Patrick Mahomes to float that ball and flutter it into the air for Alexander.
And Ward was running the edge on the backside right there. The hand just as the ball is going forward. Very good job by Ward finding the football, even if you don't get to the quarterback.
The 4th interception grabbed by the Oklahoma defense today. All Sooners, 7 to play here in Norman. Oklahoma defense, the latest from Dominique Alexander, Adam Amin, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan. From Norman, Oklahoma, and it looks like Baker Mayfield's day is done. Cliff Kingsbury's former quarterback with a 211-yard passing performance, and it is Trevor Knight into the ball game, giving to Alex Ross with his 8th carry of the season for the redshirt junior. Trevor Knight appearing in a game for the 21st time in his career. Started 15 games in his career, over 3,000 yards passing. MVP of the Sugar Bowl after the 2013 season when Oklahoma had that big win against Alabama. Started the first 9 games last year before he got hurt. Didn't play against Texas Tech last season. Returned for that bowl game against Clemson, that brutal loss by Oklahoma to the Tigers. But he got beat out by Mayfield in the preseason for the starting job, but Knight in the game for the final 6 minutes plus. There's Ross again, close to the sticks. Trevor Knight, the MVP of that Sugar Bowl. Alabama got knocked out by Auburn in the de facto SEC title game, or SEC West title game, in that kick-6 game. So a lot of people thought that they were dragging a little bit going into this bowl game. But Trevor Knight, if Alabama was dragging, he took full advantage with 4 touchdowns and 348 through the air.
One of the sharpest, most efficient performances I've seen out of a quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, Trevor Knight was unreal, and it really elevated the expectations going into 2014, I think, in a level that they actually weren't really ready to ascend to be quite honest with you, and they kind of fell off in 2014. Knight
keeps it, first down. I think both these teams had disappointing seasons last year. Obviously, Texas Tech's first year with Cliff Kingsbury was so good. They went 8-5. They won a bowl game, and granted, they had a hot start to that year and a cold finish, but last season, a lot of injuries for Tech. They go 4-8. Oklahoma, which had won 10 games or more in 4 straight years, they end up going just 8-5 after they got off to a really good start last season as well. There's a lot of disappointment in these two programs at the end of last season. You got the feeling that they both felt that they could bounce back. When you talk to the coaching staffs, both felt like this year could be a much bigger year for both. Ross stopped up by Jenkins. Allen trying to rip it away. Second down coming up.
Well, and Adam, the way that 2014 ended is exactly what ushered in changes on the offensive side with Bob Stoops. You know, he talked about it. He kind of took credit for the air raid stuff hitting the table with Mike Leach, hired him here after he took the head job, and he said, you know, it permeates college football, but I wasn't really benefiting from that. And so he goes and finds a guy in Lincoln Riley who's in that lineage and says, you know what, I want to start doing this offensively again. But I think right now Lincoln Riley's trying to find the blend between the physical run game that we saw here today and also the air raid concepts that really are difficult to defend in the pass game.
This offense wasn't that good against Tennessee. They won that game, but they got off to a very slow start in that game. They were not very good against Texas.
No.
And Bob Stoops was quick to point that out, because we asked him, is Lincoln Riley doing the things that you kind of expected when you brought him in? He said, well, let me first say, we got wins, but we struggled. It was inconsistent against Texas and Tennessee. And consistency, I'm sure, like every coach in college football, the key word is consistency.
Yeah, and that's what he said, inconsistent. I love what he's doing, but we're inconsistent. Well, what's inconsistent about it primarily was what was happening on the line of scrimmage with three young players. And I think as those players are getting ramped up, I think this offense is fixing to launch. And down the stretch, I think Lincoln Riley is going to have a lot of weapons in his hands.
Final Oklahoma timeout. We'll step aside as well. Back in Norman, 3:43 to play here in the fourth. Cliff Kingsbury looks on. His Red Raiders have not scored 30 points just yet. They've scored 30 in every other game. Oklahoma on offense. On third down and 8. And it's Knight keeping it. He's got Meade in front of him for a block and a first down inside the 15-yard line. You get the sense with Cliff Kingsbury, there's a lot to be said about Kingsbury. He's, got the big money contract this year, $3 million annually, going up even further than that as the years go on. He's got the quote-unquote pretty boy image. He's a young guy, the youngest head coach in the Power 5 at 36 years of age. You get the sense from this guy that he's a little bit hardened, because there's been a great article written about him in Sports Illustrated about how he was cut from his JV team by his dad. He has gone through a lot in his life already, drafted in the NFL in the 6th round by the Patriots, and did not have a flourishing NFL career like many expected him to have. As Ross takes it inside the 10-yard line. And he calls himself at times a failure in those regards. His mother passed away 10 years ago. He had to go back into coaching and try to work his way up in the field. You get the sense he wants to be more than just whatever the image is that has been placed out there for a young coach like that. You get the sense that he wants to be more than just the money and the looks and the image.
Yeah, I think it's a quest to be successful, quite honestly. He was as a college player, obviously, and a lot of other things that you've documented is played out in his life, but it's about being successful now, and I think he has the ability to do that. There isn't any doubt about it, but he coaches with a chip on his shoulder. There isn't any question.
First career touchdown, Alex Ross. Season high for Oklahoma in points and rushing touchdowns continues to build up.
And what Cliff Kingsbury is trying to do is get the defensive side of the ball to match what he knows he can accomplish on the offensive side of the ball, and that's where David Gibb comes in. There's been a lot of defensive coordinators and schemes coming and going at Texas Tech, and as the head man, you realize you have to settle on someone that you believe in and give them time to do it.
Alex Ross, first career scorer for the redshirt junior out of Jenks, Oklahoma. We're talking about Kingsbury. His Texas travel starts at a high school in Texas where he was a unicorn in high school. He was very good and obviously makes his way to Lubbock, Texas. One of the most prolific passers in history in Texas Tech. As a Houston assistant coach, has Case Keenum there, gets the shot to go, work under Kevin Sumlin, as Johnny Manziel as the quarterback, and then slides over to Texas Tech as the new head coach. And there is some arrogance there, at least based on what people would say about him, based on how he talks, the way he carries himself. There's confidence there, though, as well. And I think that's what has carried over into the program 2 out of the last 3 years, is people in Lubbock believe that they can win again, and they have been winning 2 of the last 3 years.
And he's well on his way to doing that. There isn't any question, I think, that he can get there. It's just that now, as the CEO of the program, both sides of the ball have to be married together. Mike Leach got it done, won 9 games his last 3 years in Lubbock, but they weren't playing great defense.
Right.
And in today's college football, you can't outscore everybody. You have to play defense.
Shy of the 15-yard line, it's Tony Brown, chopped down. Still the big headline today was Baker Mayfield, a former Texas Tech walk-on quarterback, trying to keep his emotions in check, trying to play strong today.
Yeah, his biggest opponent today was himself, making sure that he was locked and loaded, didn't get overly emotional like I believe he did to start the Texas game. He's an Austin kid. And outside of one pretty bad decision with the INT he had, he's actually played really well, and composed is the word I would use for him today.
Both starting quarterbacks are done. Davis Webb, who split time with Mayfield a couple of years ago, and split time last year as well as a starter. He is into the game. Stockton on the run. Closing the book on what Baker Mayfield did. First 6 games, solid numbers, but again, a lot of the reason for this is the fact that the rushing attack was so darn good for Oklahoma today.
Yeah, that one interception at the bottom really is the only thing that there's a hang-up on.
Right.
I mean, he was pretty efficient otherwise. Remember, he had the run game to go with it, so he doesn't need those astronomical numbers.
Cam Batson on the screen pass, taking it out wide. Inside of 2 to play.
And I think that's what Mayfield's going to have to do down the road, is realize that my defense is playing pretty well. We may be able to run the ball very efficiently also, so I need to be a good decision maker and distribute to the people in space that can make plays. That's his calling card going forward.
Webb, the junior out of Prosper, Texas, in a game for the 5th time this year. Back to Batson, low pass incomplete. Frustrating day for Patrick Mahomes. Had 3 interceptions all season, or 6 interceptions rather, all season coming in. 4 interceptions today alone. But this is still a guy that, I mean, you see the flashes of what this guy can do and how effective and explosive he can be at the forefront of this offense.
Yeah, and like we talked about, a lot of his big plays come off script, which I think Cliff Kingsbury and Eric Morris are still trying to find a way to manage. Make sure those plays are coming within the confines of what we're doing schematically, and they're still managing that. But the interceptions today, he made a couple of bad decisions, but it was also good coverage on probably 2, if not maybe 3 of those interceptions, as Kingsbury pointed out.
Right here for Stockton, he's got the first down. Stop the clock at 1:23 to reset the change. Everything is looking ahead to November in this conference. Bob Stoops, when you ask him, hey, are you guys a playoff team right now? He's like, yeah, that's for you guys to decide, and that's for everybody else in the media to talk about, and certainly we will, and we'll jam it down your throat for the next couple of weeks until those first college football playoff rankings come out on November the 3rd. But that's when things start to get a little bit real. You know, when those first rankings come out, now we start to set the barometer, and then the rest of the month might belong to the Big 12, because everybody plays everybody among these 4 teams: TCU, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and you said it, Cal, TCU, Baylor, Oklahoma, all going to Stillwater this season.
That is going to be entertaining. There isn't any question about it. And as far as being a playoff team now, I don't think a playoff team exists yet.
Sure.
Because the snapshot in time changes so quickly from week to week. And that's the beauty of what we do. We get to document that, but the college football playoff picture changes literally from one week to the next.
Stockton. First down. And Texas Tech will be back in Lubbock next week for Halloween Saturday when Oklahoma State comes to town. Then they got West Virginia on the road, K-State, a bye week, and then they go to Austin, Baker Mayfield's hometown, to play the Texas Longhorns on Thanksgiving. Oklahoma on the road at Kansas next week, then Iowa State, then they get the bye, and that's when they set up for the long push in November. But Oklahoma, with its 6th win of the season, they moved to 3-1 in the Big 12. The season high 63 points. +400 rushing yards for Oklahoma on offense, 7 rushing touchdowns as well. Pirine over 200 yards, Mixon over 150.